Good evening or good morning, based on wherever you are watching from. This is the Drew Pavlo Show. This is episode 39 in 39 days. We are on a 100-day live streaming challenge. Now, we are going to be debating a white supremacist tonight. I've said over and over that I will basically debate anybody. I'll basically debate anybody so long as they do not engage directly in personal threats, or if they, use slurs, etc., that will bring down the stream. But I will basically talk to anybody outside of those rules of engagement. Percy has been wanting to debate for a long time. He's been wanting to debate for a long time, and I'm happy to do so. I've sent him the link. He should hopefully be joining in a second. And apart from that, afterwards, I might go into some of the news as well. Drew, check the news. Peter Zoe, I used to work with you in Defend Democracy. You don't align with my values anymore. I mean, sure, Peter, I think that's Caleb. Good for you, mate. What can I say? I've got different views. My views are not frozen in time as they were 5 years ago. What can you say? I don't know what your problem is with me. Maybe it's over the Israel-Palestine stuff. If that's the case, fair enough. What can you do? My views are not frozen in time. I update my views based on life conditions. Waiting for Malachi says check the news. What's on the news? Has something crazy happened? Surely not. Has anything crazy happened? He killed himself after Kanye said he wasn't anti-Semitic anymore. What are you talking about, man? Love your work defending democracy, Drew. So true. Guys, if you're watching on Twitter, I highly recommend that you go on YouTube. I'll post a link to the YouTube as well. Is there a white genocide in South Africa? Listen, genocide is a very strong term, but I certainly think there is race-based violence in South Africa, mixed with a lot of genocidal race-based hatred. Julius Malema is somebody who does want a genocide. He's a Putin supporter. He's an extremist. And anybody who actually believes in the values of pluralism and democracy should be massively opposed to him. Someone says NATO bomb Israel. Okay, man. We're going to get... hang on, I'm just going to post a link up. I have sent it to Percy. I don't know where Percy is yet. I don't think he's joined. Hang on, I see him in the chat. 1 second. I'll add you in a second, Percy. I'm just going to quickly put up the YouTube link as well. Just going to put up the YouTube link, and then I will put you in the chat, Percy. Eugene says, Jews have the highest IQ, yet these race supremacist types hate them. Look, Eugene, I don't think that type of rhetoric is necessarily going to win them over, but, I like Jewish people. They're very smart, and I like them. I've got lots of, very friendly, patriotic Jewish friends. Wait, what? Nick Fuentes just died? No, surely not. Surely no. Hang on. No, there's nothing. I just quickly Googled it to double check that Nick Fuentes is not dead. But okay, he's not dead, it seems. Okay. And the bottom line is I'm one of the most high-profile in Poland. That gives me a lot. Okay, Chris. Okay, we'll get started in a second. One second. I'll just quickly send this as well to my Discord, and then I'll add Percy to the chat, and we'll get going. I want to apologize, guys, that it started a bit late today. I had a university essay I had to finish today by midnight. It's basically 95% complete now. Percy's been bugging me. I was going to try push it to Saturday, but Percy was bugging me, so I said, fine, I'll do it today. But it is what it is, isn't it? We're dealing with a lot of people who need a debate and want to discuss. I'm just going to quickly put it. Okay, sent it to the group chat on Discord. Okay. All right. Percy is now on the stage. Percy, are you there? Can you hear me?
Yeah, man. Can you hear me?
Yep. Now, Percy, as we discussed previously, the rules of the discussion, which you agreed to, we're just not going to have any slurs or anything that'll get the YouTube taken down, and no personal attacks on family and doxing, that sort of stuff. As long as we adhere to those civilizational rules, we'll have this discussion, and I'm sure it'll be okay. Obviously, we've got quite different views on a matter of subjects, very different. I'm not a white supremacist by all means, and in fact, I believe you have said in the past that you want me to be deported. But look, we'll discuss. Percy, how are you this evening?
I'm pretty good.
We should start with
we should test a bit of a test of patience, man. You know, like pushing me back. You're like, oh, can we reschedule? Like, how long have I been chasing you for a debate now?
Look,
a long time.
We're doing it now. As you can imagine, I've got
a lot of things. You just want to get it over and done with. Hey, you know.
No, I mean, we're here now. I was going to say we can start with Adu's famous question. He wanted to know what a recession was. That was what he posted the other day. Do you want to start with that?
I haven't done my economics 101 class, so
I'll have to get back. You gotta read
like you. I'm a bit behind on my homework, you know.
Oh yeah, with
too much time on X, too much shit posting on X.
Oh look, when it comes to Adu, you've got to read 50 different economic papers, and you have to know the methodology of all of them. Otherwise, you're not allowed to speak to him. Apparently,
but Drew, have you read the literature? Have you read the literature?
Yeah, look, I confess I should have read more of the literature before the debate with Adu.
With Adu, you've really got to go stack for stack study for study. You know, you just
I should have gone back and done a full PhD in economics.
The thing is, like, his method of debating, like leftists, like Soylenial leftists, they love this. It's like, or like citation, or do you have a study? It's all like referencing study. He's like a rabbi. Like how he references studies is how rabbis reference, like, you know, sections of the Talmud. That's what he's like. That's his religion studies.
Okay, Percy. I know you're keen to get the Jew stuff in, I'm sure. But what?
No, not really.
Okay,
no,
okay.
Like, yeah.
But look. We've got a comment here. Adu's entire argumentative approach is to bring up cooperative housing in Montevideo, Uruguay, and then declare victory because you don't know or care about it. I mean, that's kind of true. I mean, just because I wasn't completely aware of the intricacies of some random co-op housing project in fucking Montevideo.
Well, if it's so good, why doesn't he move over there?
Yeah, of course. I mean, and he could literally do a co-op right now, and you know, they're not illegal. And I also pointed out the funny thing is he wasn't even on top of his own study there because he didn't even know for sure whether, you know, the individual owners of that cooperative owned the land or the housing after they built it.
Is this the thing in ACT?
No. This is actually
I didn't actually know that people don't actually own, like, they're just leasing their house.
I guess you get a 99-year lease, which I guess for most people is basically...
That's like Hong Kong, isn't it? I'm pretty sure they got that in Hong Kong or like Singapore. But I guess it makes sense in places like that where there's not a whole lot of real estate, so you can't really hoard it. Or I don't know why they have that, but...
Well, look, Adu literally said in the debate that he wanted to abolish all private property. So, like, no one would have a house.
Yeah, see, this is the thing with Adu. Like, he can't actually, like, he wants to autistically debate over the methodology or whatever of studies. Like, that's where he's. Look, I'll give him credit. That's where he's good at. Like, because he'll just
he's I actually want to say he's objectively a smart guy. Like, as much as I disagree with him and I dislike
I don't know about that, but
I mean, he's well read. I'll just say he's well read, but I do think he does a lot of tricky tactics.
I don't know about either of those things, but look, what I would say is, like, he's good. Like, he'll stick on that because if you actually get him to explain his worldview, like, no one's
a disaster.
Yeah, he's like, I want complete open borders, and then I want to get rid of private property. It's like. You just get him to explain that, and like who in their right mind is going to be on board with that?
That's the bullshit thing, because he did a Maoist struggle session against me for 2 hours, and the whole struggle session was like, oh, Drew, your 10 different policy proposals, which are actually conceivable, are not going to fix the housing crisis. And then you meanwhile,
Yeah.
and then you go, okay, now you defend what you want to do, and he just goes, oh yeah, I want full communism, and
well, the thing is, you probably the only other person he's probably debated is me, but like we had a conversation, we had like a conversation a while back, maybe like a month or so ago. So I just that's why I just know his tactics.
Is that debate? Where is that debate, by the way? Is it on YouTube or something?
It's not up. He's clipped apart and he's put it on his like Instagram and his fucking TikTok, and it's like, oh, Percy doesn't know what a recession is, but there was
So that's why he did that. That's why he did that thing.
He was trying to say that like, oh, we like we should have to tolerate immigrant criminals because Australians also commit crime. Like that was like some of his arguments.
That is objectively a pretty retarded argument, because if you are an immigrant, and I'm saying this as someone who is descended from migrants, and you've said before you want me to be deported, but I say this as somebody who's literally descended from migrants. Like obviously, if you're a migrant and you commit crime, I think that's just obviously objectively worse than somebody.
But it's
the majority, like somebody who's not an immigrant committing a crime, because obviously it's a choice to let in an immigrant into the country. So that's
yeah,
the difference.
It's just retarded, because like obviously crime's going to exist, but it's like, why do we need to like tolerate migrants that shouldn't even be here if they're committing like 10 times the rate of crime that it's like, Australians commit crime, so therefore we have to tolerate like all these foreigners who commit like crime at 100 times the rate that Australians do. So
well, look, it's just a bit ridiculous. He literally just like okay, this is where we're different, right, Percy? Like I'm not a race essentialist at all. I think you can change culture, etc. What's wrong with Adu's worldview is he doesn't even see any difference with culture. Like I think he literally just thinks every single person is a tabula rasa.
Yeah, he definitely believes that. That's like the Marxist worldview, but he believes in culture, but he believes it's he reduces it to it comes from material relations. That's like the Marxist sort of view.
It's just so stupid. Yeah, exactly.
But look, the thing is, Drew, though, if you aren't a racist, do you want to
answer this question, by the way? There's a question
Sure.
by Mr. F, and he goes, on a scale of 1 to 10, how white supremacist is Percy? Is he just a nationalist, or does he want to deport everyone? Genuine question.
Look, it's I would say it's it's like with girls. You can't. How often do you come across a 10? But I'd like to think I'm at least an 8 or a 9.
So like in your ideal world, you basically don't want a single non-white person living in Australia.
Ideal. That might not be pragmatic, but yeah, sure, ideal. Like what's wrong with all white society? Why is that a bad thing?
Well, look, like at the end of the day, I'm not a biological essentialist. Okay, so I don't believe that people are inherent. I don't believe that the value of a human.
Do you believe in race? Do you believe race is real?
I don't believe race is a biologically distinct concept. I believe that cultures are I believe ethnic groups are real. Ethnic groups are real, and obviously there's culture tied both to ethnic groups, but also culture is mutable.
Yeah, but ethnic is more cultural. It's languages, things like that, customs, that sort of stuff. It's not really a biological. What? So you don't believe in race at all?
No. Look. Like, okay, tell us.
Do you believe in species? Do you believe in species? Do you believe species is a social construct?
You should define for the viewers how you view race. What race means to you?
It's a sub-differentiation below species. Like if you're going to talk taxonomical terms, but it's basically just a grouping of human beings on physical and behavioral traits. It's the same. It's the same thing as species. Like no one denies that. Like no one. If I said, "Oh, species is a social construct," like there's no. They're all the same organism. They're all the same thing. Okay. You can't.
Obviously, this is the difference, right? And by the way, we've got a comment by Con. Drew, I missed you yesterday. Sorry, guys, I didn't stream yesterday, but took one day off because I had university. But what I was going to say, right? When we're talking about species, right? One of the distinctive features of species. Of a species is that, they cannot actually mate together, right? But ethnic groups...
That's not true. What do you think a mule is?
Yeah, but like when we're talking about like
it's a donkey
and a giraffe,
No, it's a donkey and a horse.
Right. So you think that somebody
And there's lots of different species that can mate, but usually they're like, what do you think a liger is?
Okay, look, there are obviously some that can mate, but can
But
they
also,
actually produce children?
I'm not saying race is species. I'm saying it's below that.
Okay.
It's subspecies. It's like
Subspecies. Okay, what does
breeds.
that mean to
Yeah,
you?
it's the next rung down in taxonomy. Like, do
Because,
you
like,
believe?
for
Do you?
example,
So you're
well, I
saying
just want to put this to you, right?
hold on,
Mules
hold on,
aren't
Drew.
fertile. Mules aren't fertile, but obviously people within different ethnic groups can reproduce together. So like, how does this make sense to you?
No, are you denying that there's no sub groupings of you can't group people below species in the human race?
Oh,
There's no different groupings below that.
I think that there are ethnic groups. I don't think that people are, literally
Okay,
different subspecies.
do you know how species in taxonomy differentiated?
Okay, tell us.
Okay, it's called the 70% rule. So it's if 75% of one like if 75% of like one species is able to be differentiated by phenotypes, and it's a different breed, it's a different subspecies. So you're saying that ethnic groups are real, but can you tell the difference between a German and an Englishman? Like, they're two different ethnic groups, right? Or like
Sometimes you can, like, the greatest,
not
if you play the race
consistent,
guesser
not
game 10 times a day, you probably can work it out.
that's just luck, Drew. You can't tell me that you can tell the difference between an Irishman and an Englishman.
Look,
100.
I can often tell, for like, I'll give you an example, right? Like, I can tell
Okay.
when somebody's from East Africa versus West Africa.
The thing is, you're saying like these related, closely related ethnic groups. You can tell like the these subtle differences between them, but you can't tell the difference between a European and an African.
Oh, obviously there's ethnic differences between a European and African.
No, racial.
I mean, okay, tell us what these racial differences are then.
What you tell me? There's no physical differences or behavioral differences
look,
between a European and an African.
No, there are different ethnic differences, and there might be some variations, of course. Like, for example, with East Africans, you have people who are really good at long distance running. Like, there are differences, obviously. I'm not pretending that there's no differences at all.
Yeah.
But I just don't think I don't think that they're so significant.
The thing is, Drew. So like we'll go like East Asian, like what they used to call it back in physical anthropology, they would call it mongoloid. So they've got
Dude, this is 19th century race science shit. Like, this is like caliber.
Yeah, but it's not wrong. Like, disprove.
But it's pseudoscience, dude. It's been pretty much.
No, it's not. Okay, well, prove it wrong then. Because there's.
Well, you're the one making the claim, right? Why don't you?
Okay,
try to prove us
let
the
me
claim?
just let me cook, Drew. Let me just describe.
Okay. Okay, you go.
So East Asian, so they're brachycephalic, so that means a round skull. They've got straight hair. They've got the epicanthic like fold on the eyes. They're usually small stature. Like, those are all similarities that all East Asians have. Like, are you denying that they all have those similarities?
I know that there are ethnic differences, dude. I know people look different, etc.
Okay, we're
talking like the innate human nature of a human being.
You're just engaging in semantics. You don't want to say race. You want to use like another stand-in.
Well, when the way you're talking about it,
so
it's
you just don't
like
you don't like the word I'm using. Is that all it is? You just don't like race.
But this is the key difference, right?
What's wrong with the word?
When you're talking, because when you talk about race, you're talking almost as though they're different species.
No, they're just subspecies. I'm not saying they're the same
species. What's the relevance
species.
of this term, the subspecies?
What's that?
What's the relevance of the subspecies versus, say, ethnic group? What's the distinction there?
What's the distinction? Look,
how do you draw a distinction between an ethnic group and
you can't consistently like, ethnic group is like a smaller, it's more cultural, man. Like, even look up the definition, man. Like, the things it lists is like language, customs, all that sort of stuff. It doesn't really have anything to do with like behavior or like physiognomy or phenotypes, that sort of stuff.
Okay. So
Drew,
Yeah.
Drew, are you telling me like you don't know what a black person is? You don't know what an Asian
Dude, I
is? You
know
don't know.
obviously
Do you
black
know what
people
a
exist. I know that black people exist. I know that there are
okay? So
differences across
races
ethnicity.
exist. So races exist. So you're a
I
racial
mean, I mean,
essentialist now.
I think that people can be categorized by ethnic group. Obviously, that's like I'm Greek ethnic. Like by ethnicity, I'm Greek Cypriot, right? But that
Okay.
doesn't mean I'm like a different subspecies to you.
No, I'm not saying ethnic groups are subspecies.
Okay, so what are the subspecies then?
So you got Europeans, you got East Asians, you got Africans, you got Amerindians. Look, the thing is with race, it is people aren't wrong when they say it's a social construct, but that's the same way that saying species or any sort of way to categorize phenomena is. But that doesn't mean that like what the categorizing doesn't exist in reality. So like you can break race down or into finer, like more unique sort of groupings as well. So if you want to, you bring up like 19th century like race science. There's one of the main guys is like de Gobineau, and he'd say that there's like three main sort of races, and that's like Africans, and then you got like
Okay,
Caucasoids.
can I point out here? There
Yeah.
are like we both know this. There are literally hundreds of different African ethnicities.
Yeah, look, I'm not denying that there's hundreds or even thousands of ethnicities. I'm not.
Okay.
Like you can go.
What I'm
you
just
can go.
failing to understand. What I'm
Drew,
failing to understand is what's the difference between an ethnicity and a subspecies.
I don't get this argument, Drew. Like you're saying that, like, oh, it's like there's not like 5 races. There's thousands. Like you're even more of a race essentialist than me. I thought I was the Nordicist.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm basically just casting. I'm casting a critical eye to this idea that there's basically 4 big subspecies of human beings. Like when people are actually hundreds of thousands of different ethnicities.
Drew, even in population genetics, they just use different terms. So you don't like race, like they use like population groupings. They'll say like West Eurasian for Europeans, East Eurasian. They'll say African. They just use different words. But the thing is, there is genetic clusters that align with the continents. So I think it's like Blumenbach. He was like one of the big guys. He came up with like the 5 continental races that aligns with gene cluster analysis. So it's not arbitrary.
One second, by the way, Percy, do you want to put your profile picture in like how Adu did it? Because I know obviously you're doing it behind no cam.
I don't mind. I was trying to do post a funny picture, but it was like stuffing me around. So yeah, no, it's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
But okay, like here's the big distinction though, right? Like when we're talking about species, subspecies, etc. Like a mule, for example, a mule cannot produce fertile offspring. But when people of different ethnic groups that are human beings couple together, they very clearly can produce viable offspring. So that's obviously like a big distinction.
Subspecies can breed. All subspecies can breed.
Yes, breed, but can they produce like actually fertile offspring? So, for example, mules can't produce.
That's different. Different species can't do that. I'm talking about subspecies. All subspecies, they can breed.
Okay, but also, what's the main importance of seeing things in terms of subspecies v ethnic groups? Like why are you so insistent against me saying ethnic group rather than
I don't have a problem with it, but we're talking about biological categories. Like ethnic groups aren't really like a biological category.
We've got a comment here. How do you define speciation?
How do I define it?
Yeah, like how do you see it?
I said before, like the method they use is the 75% rule. But look, I think, Drew, like we're just like, are you?
Okay, well, we can get bogged down in genetics. Let's go past that. Okay, let's talk.
Yeah. Look,
okay.
But hold on. Look, what's your main problem with like viewing the world like racially? Like what's the main problem? See, the thing is, you criticize Adu as like a blank slatist, but then you deny that there's different races.
Like there's different ethnic groups and different cultures. That's observable to anybody with eyes, but that doesn't mean that somebody is, to their very core separate.
Where does Drew? Where does culture come from?
I think culture is, because we see how mutable culture is, the way it can change so flexibly. I mean, for example,
but where does it come from?
The culture of, say, Western society is obviously very different today than what it was 100 years ago.
Yeah, where did that come from?
Say that it's racially fit?
Where did Western culture come from?
I mean, Western culture, it's basically the build-up of institutions. It's the complex interplay of history, language.
Where those institutions come from?
I mean, oftentimes it's by chance. I mean, if you have read Why Nations Fail, for example?
It's just luck. It's
I'll give you an example, right?
It's like the atheist view of the world, just like smashing together, and like institutions just like somehow.
Can I ask you this? Okay, Percy, can I ask you this way, right?
Sure.
Okay. If we see the world
after you tell me where culture comes from, see, like you're trying to put
part of it. No, you're a
good lawyer. You're trying to cross-examine me. You tell me where culture comes from.
I'm trying to explain why I think that a lot of times cultural outcomes can actually be random. So I'll give you an example, right?
You don't know. It's just a mystery. It just comes out of the ether.
It's not a mystery. But it's
at least Adu has a theory, Drew.
It's a complex interplay of environment.
At least he has
complex interplay of environment, information exchange, historical contingent factors, all these sorts of things.
Okay, so
let me give you an. Can I ask you a question? I have to ask you this. Okay.
But you're criticizing Adu. That's Adu's view.
I'm not a blank slatist. I'm not a blank slate.
You're criticizing him, saying that it's like.
Can I give you an example? Right? Let me give you an example. I don't think that because, here's something that contests with the blank slatist view of the world. Obviously,
you were criticizing Adu.
Can I answer, dude? Let me talk, please. Can I say one sentence, please?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not a blank slatist. So a blank slatist would have to pretend that there's no reason why East African runners are not better at long distance than say white guys. Obviously, we can all observe with our own eyes that Ethiopian runners are really good at long distance running. Obviously, there's a genetic factor to that. Obviously, there is, environmental genetic things there. Obviously, different ethnic groups exist. They adapt to their environments. That is real, okay? What I'm saying though is stuff like culture, if it's really apparently, according to you, racially fixed, why do you see the example? For example, you look at North Korea, South Korea. North Korea is literally a massive shithole. It's like a Stalinist dictatorship. It's one of the poorest countries on earth.
It's a different style of government, man. No, that's not.
Yeah, I know, but why is it a different style of government? Part of it is cultural, right? That government has changed the culture of North Korea to the culture of South Korea. I mean, that's objective.
Well, look, it's
biologically the exact same people, right? Like they're both ethnically Korean.
Yeah, they don't have different cultures. You could make the argument that communism destroyed the culture, which it did in most places it implemented. But I just think that's retarded trying to say that North Korea is communist, so that's different.
It's a very different culture though. Like for example,
but also, Drew.
Sometimes have you seen Jackson?
Can we go back? Can you? So you just told me that culture comes from the environment, and it's just a coincidence.
It's a complex interplay of factors. It's like environment.
What about race?
Partly can be genetic as well.
Genetics? What about race and genetics?
There can be some genetic environmental factors, I think, but it's not. I don't think it's overwhelming. I don't think that people are like. I think the fact that you got Korea, which is literally the same people.
I think you're just trying to. I think you. So you do admit that it does have to do with race.
I'm not saying it's not race per se. I'm saying that there can be.
Are you categorically excluded? Are you categorically?
I think there can be ethnic genetic differences. I just don't think that
you agree with me. You agree. Look, Drew, I don't deny that things like the environment or other factors, even things like free will. I don't disagree with you there. But why are you trying to downplay and just sort of almost categorically exclude the racial element?
But dude, if you look at it though, right, like you see over and over and over again, like Taiwan versus China, for example. And as Max says, it's
They don't
literally,
have different. They don't have it.
it is
They
ultimately
don't.
the same
They're
ethnic
not
makeup.
culturally. They're not culturally different, man.
They are culturally
They've
distinct
got a
today, dude.
different.
They are.
Having a different style of government isn't a different culture.
It can change culture. Government can change culture.
Bro,
Do you agree?
what's the cultural difference between a mainlander and a Taiwanese person? You tell me.
Do you? Well, there's cultural differences. Like they're Taiwanese people are probably more individualistic and less collectivist than people from mainland China. There's probably less trust in stuff like this, dude. Like give us an example, right? Like if you think that do you accept that government can change culture?
Do you deny that like East Asian society is way more collectivist than like Western civilization?
Yeah, overall, I'd say it probably is, but I don't think that's a racial thing. I think that's I think that a lot of that comes down to historical factors.
No,
like for example,
Drew,
the Black Death in Europe. The Black Death in Europe radically changed social relationships and everything. And the Black Death in Europe, it gave like smallholders much more power against, say, like the holding land elites. And therefore, that allowed some forms of nascent early democracy to rise in Europe.
You're just trying to obfuscate away from like what I'm trying to talk about. So, do you deny that behavior is somewhat genetic?
I mean, maybe like I think
it's
studies of twins and stuff like that. Look, there is partly a genetic makeup of that. I just don't think it's the overwhelming thing.
But like the big personality traits, it's like East Asians score low in extroversion and they score high in agreeableness, and like people have proposed.
Maybe are you really saying that East Asians have a biological like aversion to extroversion? Like I don't think that's
no. They
score
lower, and it's proven.
But scoring lower, does that mean that there's some kind of DNA strand that makes them less?
Are you denying that? True. Drew, are you denying that genetics influence behavior?
I think genetics can influence behavior, but it's not the whole
thing.
No, they
do.
This is the same. But this is but Percy, this is the whole classic debate of nature versus nurture. And
you're trying to.
It's neither either or.
You're trying to exclude nature.
Part of it. I'm not trying to exclude nature. I think part of it is nature, but I don't think it's the entire thing.
Okay, so you agree with me that behavior is somewhat genetic. It's not. I'm not saying it's 100%. Genetic. I'm not saying it's 100%.
I think you can change it, though. I think you can change it.
Why are you just trying to downplay it, man? Like, why can't you just say?
Because I just don't think that based on, like for example, I don't think that from birth, I don't think that, like, I believe social conditioning has a big role to play, right? So I don't think that just from birth,
so does it do.
African is just going, yeah, but dude, I'm not a full blank slate. It's because I'm not saying that, like,
you're pretty close in comparison to me. Like you're sounding a lot more like a dude. Like,
dude, but you're like complete in the nature v nurture debate. You're completely nature, and I just don't think that accounts for like.
No, not completely. Look, I don't have a problem with being described as a genetic determinist. Like, I don't have a problem. Like, I even mentioned there's other factors, and I agree with like environmental and there's free will to some degree as well. But it's nature's real. Genetics are real. Like, I don't see why you're trying to deny this.
I agree with you. Genetics are real. I just don't think it's like the only thing, because if we,
I didn't say it's the only thing, but I don't like
think it is, because but you need to explain for us why there's all these cases of the world, right, where people who are basically ethnically the same have different outcomes.
You are basic, like, you're not full blank slatist. Be like, oh no, like, if I acknowledge that people are different and they're not like completely malleable, then we can't have like this colorblind, like individualistic society. It's just not going to work.
That's not even what I'm saying, dude. I'm asking you to explain like the difference between like why is it that, for example, Hispanic Americans do so much better than Hispanic people south of the border? Another example, right? African Americans do way better on tests than people in poorer African societies.
They're tax negative in American society. Like what metric do they do better?
No, like just on objective tests, right? Like if you do objective standardized
they're doing better because they're living off the welfare of like the white taxpayer. Like that's why they're doing better.
No, but like
they're doing better because they're living in a majority white country.
But why would it be the case that like African American students who are disadvantaged in America, they do a lot better
So
than African.
you believe in institutional racism, do you?
I didn't say that. You're putting that word.
Well,
I mean,
how are they
you're putting words in my mouth.
How
Here.
are they disadvantaged? You said disadvantaged.
No. I'm saying overall, African Americans obviously are poor in American society.
Why are
have
they poorer?
historically faced discrimination. Like there have been, obviously, if you have slavery for 300 years, that's going to affect you. That's pretty obvious, isn't it?
So what it's passed on epigenetically? It's what intergenerational
I'm not saying
trauma.
passed on. No, but like, would you agree? Would you agree though, Percy? Like, if you were born to two impoverished crackhead parents, you're not going to do as good as somebody who's born into a stable, loving household with a lot of money to spend.
Why are the parents like poor crackheads?
I mean, maybe their parents were like it is literally
Maybe
like
it's
right?
genetic. Maybe it's genetic. Maybe that's why they're poor crackheads.
Okay, like explain that to us. Like why do you think somebody? So like according to you,
because they're low IQ.
But dude, if
you're people,
okay, but why is the case?
Low IQ people can't get a good job, and then they do drugs. That's the explanation.
But Percy, why is it the case though that you can actually see IQ rising over time throughout all these different societies over the past 100 years?
Well, why hasn't Black American IQ? Why isn't it level with whites?
I mean, like obviously there are differences in standardized testing scores. I think a big part of that is obviously environmental factors. Like there's a lot more poverty in African American communities. There's a lot more, there's a lot more violence. Like there's a lot more family breakdown. And again, that's culture. And you can change that if you could. If you got rid of all drug addiction,
culture comes from genetics. We've already been over that. Culture comes from genetics. And also blacks. Do you know how much money blacks get? Like they get Section 8, they get SNAP, they get welfare, they get everything. They get Medicaid. Everything's paid for. They get affirmative action. They're promoted by the media. They get all this money, and they still can't figure it out.
According to you, they've got like the best ride in history. Like, would you want to be born as a Black American guy in like inner city Detroit?
I wouldn't want to get born. I wouldn't want to be born black at all.
Well, okay,
I don't care where it is.
Obviously, though,
I wouldn't be born black.
Okay, here's a thought experiment, though, Percy. If you could choose between two Harvard-educated professors who are African American as your parents, or like inner city Detroit
skinheads,
broken family,
white skinheads, I'd choose white skinheads.
You'd choose to be raised by white skinheads than Harvard-educated black professors.
If it ain't white, it ain't right.
What's the reasoning behind that?
Well, like white's the best. No, like obviously I'm joking around, but like what's this like ridiculous fucking theoretical black which black Harvard
dude?
All
I'm saying, I'm not going full Black Lives Matter. All I'm saying, dude,
name one black Harvard professor.
Dude, there are many.
Name one.
There are. Danielle Percy, for example. The lady who debated Curtis Yarvin the other day.
Oh, is she black?
Danielle Allen, I think her name. Yeah, like literally off the top of my head, I got one.
No, she's just DEI higher.
No, dude, I've read her writing. I've read her writing. It's pretty good stuff.
Dark epidermis individual.
Dude, you're going into trolling here, and I'm actually trying to have a actual conversation with you. I was trying to just point out to you that obviously, if we had a choice in life, all of us would prefer, in my case, right? What do you mean? Let's take away race.
What about if your parents were black Harvard? Like what's this question, Drew?
Okay, let me rephrase the question. Dude, okay, let me rephrase the question for you, okay?
No, it's retarded.
Question. It's a different question. I'm saying, okay, would you prefer if white parents?
What's with these abstract theoreticals?
No, we're just
it's
trying
got nothing to do with reality, Drew.
Okay, but this is a serious question.
See me, all my arguments are based on reality, and you can just what about if we live in fantasy world where genetics and race don't exist, and then black people all Harvard professors? What about that?
Percy, I haven't been insulting you throughout. You're taking on a bit
I didn't insult you.
Okay, but you're doing obviously a snarky tone. I'm trying to ask you a proper question, right? Okay,
I'm
set
making
aside,
it's
like,
a bad
set aside
argument, and I'm
okay,
making
but
fun of it. Like I'm
okay,
like, oh, sorry,
okay,
that's not like that wasn't in the T's and C's, Drew. I haven't
okay, dude. All
slurred,
right.
and I haven't made
Okay.
any personal remarks.
Okay.
So I
Different.
haven't.
Okay, different
See,
question. A
you're
different
you're
question.
a lawyer. Have I broken the rules of the
Oh,
debate?
okay, Percy. Percy, different question. Okay,
Have I
different question. That's a
have I
different question,
broken the
dude.
rules of the debate?
Okay, no, let's go to the next question. Okay, this is a
Okay.
serious question. I genuinely want to hear your answer. Okay.
I'm a better lawyer. I'm a Philadelphia lawyer.
Okay, dude. All right. I'm
You don't
genuinely
have the
interested.
Varsity makings.
Okay, dude. Let's please hear. Like, I'm serious. I want to hear your answer.
Maybe I don't know why you took the debate up, man. You should have just like done your homework. Like
Okay,
you're
dude. Okay.
addicted to X-Men. Like you're X
Clip
junkie.
farming
Like you
now,
love the
Percy.
debates.
Percy, you love the clip farming. I'm trying to ask you a proper question, right? Okay,
Sure.
white parents, would you
No,
prefer?
oh come
No,
on,
white
bro.
parents, would you prefer to be
Bro,
would you
I'm dying of cringe, man.
It's a real question, dude. Would you
Bro,
prefer to be
it's
born?
not.
No,
It's
rich white parents or poor white parents who are
Drew.
broken family background?
Drew, what about if your parents were like aliens? What about that?
Dude, I'm
What then?
actually asking you within your own race here. I know you're a white guy. I'm asking you, would you prefer to be raised by, a stable white family with, wealthy parents or a broken white family?
What's the point of this theoretical? Like what's
Dude, it's like you can't engage with abstract thought at all. This is like basic philosophy. I thought as the Ubermensch, you're supposed to engage with abstract thought.
neither can black people. That's why they score low on IQs. It's
Dude,
abstract problem solving.
Well, you're not literally engaging at all with abstract like thought here. I'm
Well,
literally asking.
Well, no, that you propose this thought experiment, and then like I thought I was a black person, and now I can't think like abstract, and I'm stuck. Drew, help me! I'm a black person. You gotta. I'm stuck in a black person's body, Drew. My parents, they're Harvard professors.
Dude. You're being retarded, dude. Come on. I'm asking you. Obviously, there's difference. Okay, within white families, right? Within white families, obviously a difference between a stable family with
you're picking out
outliers.
Do you understand what per capita is? Drew, I can't understand per capita. Like you put me in a black person's body, you got to explain it to me.
Dude, are we even debating here? Like, this is pretty retarded. All I'm trying to point out is that obviously differences in upbringing exist.
Yeah, and that's partly genetic.
Okay, sure, but like you can see, right, where like a white kid raised by wealthy, educated white parents will do better than a poor white kid. Obviously,
okay. Why don't black people raise their kids well? Why?
Dude, I mean, that's that's such a vast thing, right? I'm saying I'm talking about instances of family breakdown. There are instances of white family breakdown. There's instances of black family breakdown. Okay.
No, it's not at the same rates though.
Yeah, I agree. It's not at the same rates, and partly that can be explained by like the fact that they have actually genuinely be not necessarily just genetics. Like there's also been histories of massive violence and slavery and stuff in America. I mean, that is just objectively a fact.
Yeah. Drew, I
don't know. What's your next question?
Well, I was just going to say, like, we've been on like the race thing, and
okay, let's go to another thing then.
Like, obviously, like, I don't want to dwell on this, but like, you like, after all that's been said, like, you don't deny that there's like racial differences, and they're based in genetics.
I think there are genetic differences between human beings. I don't think it's like the be all and end all. Like I think you can. I think through good education and good culture and stuff like that, you can improve the condition of a lot of people.
Okay, but there is good education and good culture in America. So why hasn't that improved the living standards of blacks?
I mean, look, in absolute terms, like African Americans do a lot better than say, people in sub-Saharan Africa in poorer countries.
Yeah, that's because they're living in a majority white country and they're living off white people's tax dollars.
I mean, there's obviously there's differences in America between races, but I genuinely think a lot of that can be explained by like huge differences in history, like because you agree generational wealth exists, right? Like, is somebody better? Is somebody better off? Is somebody better off if their family passes them down, like social and economic capital?
Yeah, but that's because like white people were like productive and they invented stuff and they made wealth. Like, and black people did nothing.
But you also know, Perry, like there are Percy.
Perry.
Sorry, it's Percy. You do know though, like there are pockets of like, and I agree, it's isolated. It's not majority, but there are pockets of
Oh,
like
there's outliers.
where you go to like West Virginia, West Virginia, or you go to some parts of Australia and stuff like that. Like you will find areas which are like white, but there's family breakdown, there's poverty and stuff like that.
Oh,
and like that in itself is a generational.
Drew. Didn't you share something the other day? And it was like you're saying, someone was complaining about tax dollars going to Israel or something, and like they should be reinvesting that into like Appalachia, and like you're like shitting on them, or it was something you shared or something. But
look, like that was because it was like some kind of like Bernie bro in the Democratic Party who was basically saying like, oh, an excuse for like going against Israel would be to like talk about investing in Appalachia. Like,
yeah,
I agree they do need to invest more in Appalachia, but that particular talking point, like I don't think like just cutting like $2 billion from Israel is going to like necessarily fix all problems in Appalachia, obviously.
Yeah. Well, look, I think we made some good ground. Like, obviously you're not going full ado, and you're just completely excluding that there's genetic and racial differences in behavior, predispositions.
There are ethnic. Dude, like I know that ethnic groups exist. I'm not gonna like just like pretend that black people don't exist. But like,
why don't you like the word? Why do you hate the word race? What's your problem there?
It just like obviously it has the connotation of like debunked 18th century skull science shit.
Just the negative connotations of that word. Well,
I think to a large extent, I do think a large extent of it is socially constructed.
You don't like subspecies either.
It's not fully socially constructed, but I think a large extent of it is. Because, like, here's an example, right? Like, Irish people are white, but historically they were pretty brutally treated by the English, and like doesn't make them
a different race.
I'm not saying exactly, dude. That's exactly my point. They're not a different race. They're both white people, but there were differences between the Irish and the English because of history and culture, right? And the legacy of oppression. Like there was the Irish famine. When the Irish famine happened, like was that because the Irish had lower IQ? Like obviously not.
Yeah. Look,
I mean that's a good question though, isn't it? Like obviously like Irish famine.
I don't know. I don't really want to get into. I don't really want to get into like Irish history. I want to like talk more about like Australia, but I think yeah. So identity or Australian identity. So like that's a topic that we're going to touch as well. Yeah. And look, I don't know if you've been like paying attention, but like Rukshan, like he had a big crash out.
He's in the chat actually. Rukshan's here.
Well,
I saw him in the chat.
Is he?
I saw him in the chat. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, Rukshan. Do you want to come on? I'm happy to
bring him up.
It.
Bring him up. 2 verse 1. 1 verse 2. 1 verse 2.
Rukshan, are you here? Hang on. Let's see. I'm not sure. Maybe he might have.
Look, it's fine. But look, what I was going to say is, he had a big crash out at the start of the year, and he's still been crashing out, and it's basically on the topic of identity.
Oh look, I do think Rukshan's been treated unfairly. Like he's a conservative.
Look,
guy.
I'm not talking really about like Rukshan. I'm just talking more about like the discourse and like the question around like the Australian question. And look,
can I say something about Rukshan?
I'm not talking about Rukshan. I referenced him in regards to the discourse. So you've probably seen it. Like everyone's
I'm seeing some pretty horrible comments in the chat right now. Your mates, like I don't think it's.
No, what I'm talking about is like Drew. What I'm talking about is the Australian question. It's getting thrown around a lot.
Can you define that?
It's what is an Australian?
Look, I think
No, but what I was going to say.
I'm going to answer that too for you if you want.
No. I'm not proposing. I'm just saying that's the question. But what I was going to say is, I think that's a bit played out. But where that's good is for people, because I brought it on Adu. Adu can't say what an Australian is. He makes fun of me.
I thought that was really silly by Adu. And again, Adu is literally doesn't even believe nations exist.
Rukshan can't say what an Australian is either.
I thought Rukshan has said, Australia is.
He hasn't given us a definition.
I mean, he's obviously he's an Australian nationalist. He's patriotic about Australia. He doesn't want mass migration. He's a conservative guy. I don't see. can I say
Look,
about Rukshan, right?
we're not
He's
talking.
basically an ideal migrant. I don't know why he gets all this like.
Look, we'll
bullshit
get into
obviously
Rukshan
because of
in a
his skin
bit.
color.
We'll get into Rukshan in a bit.
Right.
But what I was going to say is, in those instances, like that question's good, because it basically exposes that these people, like their view of what an Australian is, that if you can't define it, then it's meaningless. But I feel like, Drew, that you're different. I feel like you actually can acknowledge that. Like, do you acknowledge that Australians are a real people, a real distinct people?
Of course. I think Australian is an ethnic group. I think it's an ethnic group. Like obviously modern, like Australia, like before, like say 1788, there wasn't a coherent geographic concept of Australia as a nation state, obviously. Look, that actually did take time to form as well, because at first it was obviously just colonies. But yeah, like there's such a thing as an Australian people, and I do think, you know, historically it's primarily like, you know, the British heritage is a part of that, and a big part of that.
They're the foundational stock, right?
Look, I'd say, you know, Australian ethnicity has the foundation in, you know, British heritage, but I think over time, I do think it has expanded though. Like, and that's pretty clear. Based on the fact that like the vast majority of like white Australians actually think it has expanded.
Yeah, but the thing is, public opinion doesn't change identity. If majority of Australians thought they were Japanese tomorrow, would they be Japanese?
No, not necessarily. But like,
what I was
going to say, right? If 90%, if over like 100 years, 90% of white Australians say, listen, we think that Australian identity should be formed basically mainly on a national civic identity basis rather than an ethnic basis.
Okay, but if 90%,
like the will of like 80-90% of Australian people, then
it doesn't come down to a democratic vote. Or
I've got a comment here. Is Rukshan ethnically Australian? He's not ethnically Australian, but I think by nationality he's Australian. And I'm not ethnically Australian. I'm ethnically Greek Cypriot, but I think by nationality I'm Australian.
I went back and I listened to your debate with like What's News, and like I think like there was a problem because he was saying that like Australians are white because that's what the founding fathers said. And then you're like, oh, but you know, public opinion has changed. Like, I don't think like identity comes down to public like opinions. Opinions change.
It's not something as fickle as public opinion. It's not just opinion. Like, I'm talking about the whole culture.
Australians are a real people. It doesn't matter.
Yes, I agree. Australian is like an ethnic thing. It exists. I do agree. There's an Australian ethnicity.
Yeah.
But I think that. I think predominantly it is also like it's predominantly a European ethnicity. But that said, though, but here's the distinction, though, Percy. I do believe that people can become Australian by nationality and by culture. So somebody might not be ethnically Australian. So, for example, right? I'll give you an example.
So they get a piece of paper from the government.
But right. But Percy, it's not as simple as a piece of paper. Let me explain to you, right? I'm ethnically Greek Cypriot. If you look back on both sides of my family history for like hundreds of years, we're Greek Cypriot, not Australian, not Anglo. But and of course you agree with that. I mean, you say a Turkish, whatever. Anyway, but by culture though, like, but here's where it's the distinction exists, though, right? If I were to go to Cyprus tomorrow, I would basically be a foreigner in Cyprus. I don't speak Greek. My mentality is basically I was brought up with Australian.
You're deracinated.
That's the culture. I'm assimilated as an Australian.
Yeah, but like, what do you assimilate? Like, what does that mean? Assimilated Australian.
I think the same way that, like, you know, 99% other Australians think. You know, my culture, all my cultural references are Australian. All my
where does that culture come from?
I mean, I don't know. Like, a big part of it's obviously education. Like, you know,
no. Australian culture. Where does Australian culture come from?
I mean, like, you know, history, traditions passed down through the centuries.
From who?
I don't predominantly in modern times it was European Australians, but that's where
the Australian culture comes from.
Well, so the culture is predominantly Western. I agree with you that the culture is predominantly Western.
It's not a matter.
And I do think
it's not a matter of it's not a matter of like predominantly.
But I think somebody can have a Western outlook.
That's where the culture comes from.
But Percy, I think somebody can have a Western outlook without being ethnically white.
Yeah, but like. at the end of the day, that's still where the culture comes from.
Like for example, Lee Kuan Yew. Like, you know, I see all these guys on the far right love Lee Kuan Yew.
Yeah.
Like, are you going to go out there and be like,
Lee
Kuan Yew
he
is
wanted
like,
he wanted he didn't want
no, but you're not going to go out there. But you're clearly not going to go out there and be like, Lee Kuan Yew was a racial inferior. He was blah blah blah. Like he's obviously like an extremely intelligent, sophisticated person who did great things in his life. He's a great man of history. He's a great man of history, and like he had a pretty Western mentality as well. I mean, it was interesting. He also had a mentality that was also
he's not a European. Like he's
not ethnically European, but he
has
an outlook.
Chinese Singaporean. Like
yeah, by ethnicity, yes.
Bro,
but his cultural outlook. But his cultural outlook, like. Okay, here's a good question. Okay, great. This is great.
I don't know why you bring up.
Can I put this question?
Why are you bringing up Lee? What's this got to do with Australia? What's this got to do?
No, but real good question. Like
I don't know. Like, you bring up the weirdest tangents. Like why are you bringing up Lee Kuan Yew?
Dude, I'm bringing up the question to elucidate a point, right? Okay, you sit down with Lee Kuan Yew, and you know that Dino Vidanya, like the white ginger guy who converted to Islam in Britain, and he sings the Dino Vidanya song. You're sitting down with both of them. Who's more in touch with English culture, like you know, traditional English culture? Everyone would say it's Lee Kuan Yew.
Yeah, but that doesn't make him English, though.
It doesn't make him ethnically English, but by culture, he's much more culturally English than the actual racially English guy, right?
Yeah, but it doesn't make him English.
It doesn't make him ethnically English, but by cultural terms,
which is a huge part of it. Drew. I agree that there can be certain like outliers or certain individuals that if they grow up in a society that like a different society, they can like acquire those customs and like those sort of thing. I agree there, but fundamentally, look, like it's a bit of a like diversion. Like we're like so like you. I want to get back into like to the Australia question. So like you don't deny that Australians are a distinct people and they have like a racial basis, which is Northwest Europeans.
Oh, look, historically, the Australian ethnicity was predominantly Northwestern European, and look, I think the Western culture is fundamental to Australia.
But those are the Australian people, right?
Yeah, I'd say it's an ethnic group for sure. But I think people can become part of basically the tribe and the nation through cultural assimilation and integration.
Yeah, so Australians are a distinct people. How does like a Chinese person or an Indian person?
Look, I'll actually give you an example. Like Northwestern Europeans, have you heard of like weird psychology? Like Northwestern Europeans are actually very distinctive in psychological terms across the entire world, in the sense that they're much more individualist and much less focused on race than almost every other ethnic group, and basically
they're more individualist. But like just to get back to the identity question, it's like okay, so like you want all these like these non-white people who have come, like you do realize that majority of the non-white people in this country came here in the last 15 years and they weren't even born here. Like, do you consider them Australian?
If they follow the laws of Australia and assimilate into Australian culture, and they're culturally indistinguishable from other Australians, like they follow customs, traditions and stuff like that, then yeah, they can be Australian for sure.
What makes them so just like following the law and
respecting the laws, customs, traditions, the history, culture of the society.
But most don't.
I think the distinctive thing is that they want to become absorbed into the country. If you're living as a sectarian enclave,
so they want to.
Can I say something, right? If you're living in a sectarian enclave and you hate white people and you hate the country, you're clearly not an Australian, right? But if you're like a Vietnamese Australian who's like Australian culture, wants to become part of the country.
Look, actually, Drew, I was going to address this. Like, this is like a very common like steelman argument that conservatives, even like a lot of leftists as well, like what you're describing isn't the case. Like majority of like the non-white people to come to Australia, like they didn't just see like Steve Irwin or like Crocodile Dundee on TV and they're like, oh yeah, I want to become like a white Australian. Like majority came.
Well, obviously that's a straw man. That's a straw man of what actually assimilation is. I'll tell you what assimilation is, dude. I'll tell you what the assimilation is. When I was growing up, despite the fact that I was Greek Australian, like I was raised on the stories of like Banjo Patterson and Henry Lawson, the Bush Pots and shit like that. And that was
the
like
man from Snowy Hydro.
Literally,
right?
literally the man
Wasn't
from
that
Snowy.
Wasn't that
Good joke.
Younkel?
I'll say it was a good joke, Percy. Hang on, I'm muted. Sorry, guys. What I was going to say, it was a good joke.
Yeah.
I'll say good joke. But the man from Snowy Hydro, my parents, actually, my grandparents, great grandparents, and grandparents actually didn't come out on Snowy Hydro. They came out North Queensland. But what I was going to say, right? Like the man from Snowy River is literally imbued in my soul. How can I not be Australian then?
Okay, well, like you,
because I've got respect. I've got respect for that makes up Australia.
You tell me like what makes like Rukshan an Australian. You tell me.
He's got respect for Australia's culture and its history and stuff like that.
He can't even identify it. He can't even identify that racial basis. Like what makes him Australian.
Dude, you guys put him offside because he had 1,000 comments.
But Drew, I could go work and live in Japan and like have respect and like think their culture's cool. Like that doesn't make me Japanese, does it?
Dude, if you study it, dude, I honestly think it's different because like obviously there'd be people in Japan who don't see it this way, but I genuinely think if you became somebody who had flawless, fluent Japanese accent, you knew all the Japanese poetry, the historical poets, the literature, you had the history in your soul, you were like one with the Japanese land, I think 100% you'd be like basically almost completely Japanese.
Well, what would make the like how does that make him Japanese though?
Obviously the fact that your parents weren't genetically Japanese means that you're not racially Japanese or genetically Japanese or ethnically Japanese. But in terms of culture, you can base it. People, I've seen this over and over and over again in my life. I've seen it, but this is true, dude. I've seen it over and over and over again in my life. People who are basically
Drew. Okay, so
Drew, they're flawlessly assimilated.
Drew, like we need to get back to like first principles. So, like you agreed that Australians are a distinct people, right? With a racial basis, you agreed there, okay? Well, then,
I think, but I don't think that means that like somebody can be Australian by nationality without being Australian by ethnicity. Okay, like
you're trying to have it both ways, man. You're trying to have it both ways. Like you want it. Yeah, you are. Because you disagreed with me that Australians are distinct.
Like YouTube user points out here.
Okay, so
if you are naturalized,
Drew, let me cook. Can you let me cook, man? Can you let me cook just for a second? Yeah. So like you agreed with me that Australians, they're a distinct people with like a racial basis. But then how can people who
I don't think
you're not letting me cook, bro?
Okay, sorry.
Like, you're doing it a do. Like I'll let you like go afterwards. Yeah. So like you agree that's who that's the Australian people. Then how can people who aren't of that racial basis, how can they be included in that group?
Okay, can I respond to this, right?
Well, yeah, sure. Okay. Yeah, like address that.
Okay, but this is important. Okay, it's an important point though. Why is it the case that like in this time period in Australian history, Irish Australians weren't properly considered to be like basically of the same race or of the same like inherent equality? Like that's a true point.
No,
we had this in Australia. So I'm just saying like
can I answer
your idea? You've got this.
Can I address that? Okay, sure, Irish, like race isn't a matter of opinion. Like what I was saying. Like Irish people aren't a different race to like English people. They're very genetically similar.
I agree. They're the same ethnicity.
Yeah.
Basically, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's not a matter of opinion. So,
but if you say the Irish people are distinct from the English people, I think we'd all have to say that, right?
Yeah, Drew. And also, like, I was, we're talking about Australian identity, and I didn't even get a chance to like actually define like what even like is an identity. Like, do you understand what identity means?
Yeah, sure. But like, okay,
what's identity? What's identity mean?
Hang on. Identity. I mean, it's how somebody is in the world. It's obviously it's hard to define off it's basically one of those things where it's like I know.
Okay. So identity comes from the Latin word identitas, and it's the same root word as identical. It means sameness. It's like identical twins, like they look alike. So how can people who look different to Australians, how can they be of the same identity, right?
I know, but dude, like
You
similarity.
you tell me how
Unique in
how
defined
how
ways.
how can me and Rukshan have the same identity if we look different?
Dude, you've got a different ethnicity. I know you've got a different ethnicity.
Yeah,
But
but
you're
how's
both Australian by nationality.
so citizenship?
Not just. I mean, citizenship is a huge part of it. But yeah.
Drew, you just agreed that Australians are a distinct people with a racial basis, and Rukshan is not in that. He's not part of that.
But you didn't listen to me when I said yes. There's such a thing as ethnicity, and I agree that the Australian ethnicity exists. But I'm talking about.
And is Rukshan a part of that? Is Rukshan a part of that?
He's not ethnically Australian. I'm not ethnically Australian
Okay,
either.
so he's not part of the Australian people. Australians are a people, right, Drew?
Yes, I mean Australian.
And is Rukshan a part of those people, or is he a Sri Lankan living here?
Okay, but it's not just. But it's
so
not
you
just
agree he's not an Australian?
I don't believe that the Australian nationality is simply like
well, your beliefs don't form the Australian nationality.
I don't believe that. I mean, you're using Rukshan because it's an easy thing because you don't want to say to my face. Oh,
well, you tell me, how, is Rukshan like how me and Rukshan, we're not of the same group. We're not of the same.
You've got a different ethnicity, and I believe that.
Yeah,
Rukshan,
he's not the same.
And Rukshan migrated as well, but he's basically assimilated Australian.
He's not an Australian.
Oh, he says I'm Portuguese, Dutch, and Sinhalese, Indo-Aryan. So I mean, that's what he's
tell him to stop being a pussy and come up. Like, get out of the replies. Tell him I want to go one.
Okay, I'm gonna bring on. I'm actually gonna send him the StreamYard link, and I've got another guy wants to come on.
Who? Am I doing 1 verse 3?
Cunt speeds. No, not necessarily. You can bring someone else as well.
Yeah, but like you don't deny like what
Chris can argue on your side. Hang on, Chris can argue on your side.
Who's Chris?
I'm gonna hang on. Like he's a conservative bloke that I'm friends with.
Yeah.
More than I am. He believes in an ethnos, I suppose.
Yeah, but like
hang on, I've sent Rukshan a StreamYard link.
Look, see, Drew. This was what I said. Like you're better than Rukshan and Adu because like you agree. You actually do like you because I'm talking descriptively, man. Like has anything I said descriptively been wrong so far on the issue of what's been wrong?
I mean, it just doesn't account for the fact that, like, obviously there's
people. What have I said wrong about the Australian identity so far? Like, what have I said wrong?
I think you're wrong that it's purely a totally ethnic identity where people can't be absorbed into the nation if they're from a different ethnicity. And
I explained what identity is, right?
Yeah, but I don't necessarily take the exact same definition as you do.
Well, how do you define an identity?
No one's at it.
We're just making up words. We're just making up words now, are we? Like identity is just whatever I want it to be. Like things.
I've sent it to Rukshan, by the way.
Look, generally, I mean, in the 21st century, the word identity is used to people. Like people use it when they say they identify as something, right? Like.
It's like trannies.
We don't use a man that identifies as a female, so that makes him a female, right?
Well, like the term gender identity that doesn't have biological roots in it, right?
Yeah, gender doesn't exist. Sex exists.
I agree, sex exists.
Also, like you're saying that words don't have like actual definitions. You're just saying that they change. So.
I mean,
like
words,
if things
like 500
if definitions are constantly if definitions are constantly changing, they have no meaning. See, look,
Percy, you're trying to use a definition for like.
See, look, your words.
No, okay. I mean, words are defined by
seriously on like talking about like you can't even define words. So how are you going to define Australian?
Sure. Well, words are defined by common use. So I don't really care if something in Latin meant something 500 years ago. It really doesn't matter.
And why would I care about what you care about? Why would I care about your opinions?
Well, it's not my opinions. It's the majority of people's opinions. That's why you should care about.
That's appeal to mass opinion.
Okay, but what's your
logical fallacy?
your
Next,
opinion?
which logical fallacy?
I mean, words are defined by like a common use. That is how people. That's how language works.
so if they're constantly changing, like what's the meaning?
Words are constantly
You
changing.
reckon-
The meaning
you
is how
reckon
we
the word
use them in
gay- hang on.
society. Wait, do you
Percy,
think if
do
you
you
went
reckon
back
the
to
word gay
England
means
like
happy?
500 years ago, you'd be able to understand what they say, or like a
Okay,
1,000 years
words
ago?
so words don't exist.
No, they do exist. They constantly change with society. Society changes, culture changes, words change, their meanings change.
People.
Wait, can I say something?
Race doesn't change.
Race doesn't change. I mean, like
Not
over time, a race, like the genetic markers of a race, probably do change. Like races will combine with each other sometimes. Like, what do you?
Are the
what's your
original
point?
Aryan like is India still Aryan today, Percy?
No,
Like,
but
you know,
the reason why I said, because like what I was saying, Australians, they're a distinct people. Like, okay, look, we can change definitions of words. That doesn't change the genetic racial basis of Australians, does it? You can't change it the same way you can change the definitions
I
of
just think
words.
the difference is, Percy, like
I think you can. Well,
You're trying to do magic. You're trying to do magic, man. You're trying to you're trying to do magic.
No, I think the way we define Australian should be the most beneficial like way to help Australia. So
What do you mean?
Australian...
What do you mean define? Australians exist in reality, right? They're like
yeah, they do. But who we consider Australian?
Well, like either your definition conforms to that or it doesn't.
I'm saying who we consider Australian should be beneficial.
It's
to
not
Australia.
a matter. It's not a matter of like It's not a matter of like opinion. It doesn't change who an Australian is.
It literally does, because words are defined by common use. So what we commonly define as an Australian, I think.
Okay, so if we define Australians as Play-Doh, we're Play-Doh now, are we?
Yeah, sure, but we wouldn't do that because
okay, so you just do that. It's look, this is just like low IQ deconstructionism. Like words don't exist, people don't exist.
I don't think
this is just. I mean, this isn't even like controversial. Like words, their meanings change over time. You can't disagree with
like
this.
What do you getting at? Like you're just pulling.
I'm saying words. The meanings of words change over time.
So what exists? What exists?
Lots of things. Lots of things exist. I don't know what sort of a question is that.
Look, I do. I mean, fucking Drew. This guy's this low IQ. I didn't like. I'll talk to Rukshan.
They say it's low IQ to say that words change over time. Their definitions change over time.
Well, look, we're talking about Australian identity. We're not having a discussion on like words.
Yes, I am aware of that, but the word Australian
Drew,
is a word.
This guy's just bringing down like this intellectual.
You can't respond to my argument, so you don't want to speak to it. Yeah,
can you kick him?
Respond to my argument.
Can you kick this guy?
Yeah. Well, can you respond to my argument? Do words change over time or not?
Drew, just kick this.
Look,
kick this
do
guy.
Words change?
Drew.
Okay.
Kick him.
All right. Okay.
I'll leave. But can I get an answer
out
to
of
my
here.
question? Do words change over time?
Get out
of
here.
Words change over time? Do
Look,
words change over time?
It's just obfuscation and deconstruction.
Do words change over time?
Do words change over time?
Answer the question, you pussy. Answer the question, pussy.
Get out of here.
Do words
This is
change over time?
all very
Do
entertaining.
words change over time?
Get out.
Okay,
Drew,
you won't even answer the question.
I'm removing because I don't want Percy to rage quit. Okay, I don't want Percy to rage quit. So
bro, that's just low. That's just low.
Can you guys hear me?
That's just low IQ.
Wait, Rukshan, are you in there?
Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh yeah, good to be here. I was just watching, and yeah, it was all over the shop. Percy, you're all over the shop, so it's good to be able to.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not.
Address some of your questions.
No, I'm on point.
If you're asking about identity,
that's
deconstruction.
I don't think that's deconstruction.
I don't think I'm a
obfuscation.
I don't think I'm a
British. Okay, I'll try and moderate this. Let me try and moderate this. Okay. What? By the way, Rukshan, do you have your video or anything? Or
no, man, I don't have a video. I was getting ready for bed.
Oh, okay, fair enough. All right, so okay, what do you want to debate, Percy? Like, what are you?
I don't want to debate Percy. Look, I understand what he's trying to say, but I think he's just getting it mixed up because I don't think he understands what an ethnicity is. So he thinks I'm Sri Lankan, But Sri Lankan is not an ethnicity; it's a
I
nationality.
mean, yeah, that's true. Obviously, yeah.
So it's the same way as Australian. Australian is not an ethnicity; it's a nationality, and Australia is made
No,
up of
Australians are just Australians
200
Australians
years,
are a
250
distinct group.
years.
Australians are a
200
distinct
years.
group of people.
200 years
Are
does not mean.
Australians a distinct group of people with a racial basis? Yes or no?
When they came on the boats to Australia, what were they?
Tell me what an Australian is. What's an Australian?
Tell me what they were when they came to Australia.
What's an Australian? You tell me.
What were I don't know. Indigenous people. It's the white Australians.
What makes them
myself.
what makes them Australian?
Australian nationality.
Yeah, but what makes them Australian? Like, what makes them part of the Australian nationality?
It's part of your constitution. It's a part of the constitution that this country has created.
So that's where Australians come from.
It's the same as the United States of America. What's the
so
US?
It comes from it's government fiat. Is that right?
Well, at the end of the day, nations are created by governments.
So it's citizenship and tax file number nationalism.
But the
Australians are a distinct group of people.
I will give to you. No, when you say,
are you denying that Australians
hang on,
exist?
I'm not denying that. No,
okay, I'm going to mute
what's
everyone.
an Australian? What defines these people?
Hang on, I'm muting everyone. I'm going to try and moderate. Okay, I'm going to try. We'll do this one at a time. Okay, one at a time. I'll let Percy speak, and then I'll let Rukshan speak. I won't let them speak over each other because I don't want it to be like Leo the other day, where I like Leo, but it got crazy between me and Ado. Okay, I'll let Percy speak. He can say a few sentences. Then I'm going to mute Percy and then let Rukshan speak. Okay, Percy, you go.
Well, look, I was asking him a question. So, like, he's saying he's not denying that Australians exist as a distinct group of people, but can you define them? Can you give me some key characteristics aside from that? Like the definition, like Australians.
Would you like me to ask Rukshan, does he think that there's an ethnic component to Australian? Does he think
racial?
Okay. Now I'm going to mute you.
No. Hold on. No, okay. Like are Australians a distinct group of people with a racial basis? Okay.
Do you want me to qualify it in terms of, like, for example, like in the way that white South Africans are a distinct group of South Africans? Like do you want me to ask, like, are white Australians a distinct group from other Australians?
That's who Australians are, aren't they? That's who Australians are.
Look, but I think there are non-white Australians though, like, because
how are they included in that group? How are they included in that group of people?
Oh, like they're not white Australians, but they're part of the Australian.
So they're not part of that people. They're not part of that distinct group of people.
But dude, there's a distinction between ethnicity and nationhood, right?
We're talking about distinct groups of people. Like, either they're like part of that or they're not.
Okay, but the problem is, and this is where the big debate comes to. You think that somebody who's not included in the ethnicity can never become part of the nation, but obviously Rukshan disagrees, and I disagree too.
Yeah, you just think you just give them you think you just give them citizenship, and that makes them, like, we're talking about distinct groups of people.
Okay, I'll put on Rukshan. What do you want to say, Rukshan? Do you want to respond?
No, look, I understand what Percy's trying to say, but I'm just saying Australian is a nationality. Australia as a country has only existed for about 250 years as a concept of a British colony. I understand that white Australians, Anglo-Australians, Anglo-Saxon, Irish, whatever backgrounds that make up Australia, modern day Australia, the majority of what Australia is a foundational of the British, that Anglo stock heritage that they keep talking about. That is all correct and true. However, as a concept, the way that I see it, and not to be offensive, it's a nationality. The same way that I am not ethnically Sri Lankan, like, you know what I mean? I'm a Sri Lankan by nationality. Sri Lankan is a new concept made in the 1970s. So before that, it was totally different. So I have different mixtures of. You can tell from my name. So people are different in different countries. I'm not trying to make the argument that what he's saying is incorrect. I'm just saying it's not an ethnicity in the way that it's been described.
Out of interest, what do you think of this argument? Like, Swindon tried to put this question to me too. He said, Rukshan, will Australia still be Australia if it's 90% Sinhalese?
No, it won't be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. Obviously, that would be a definitional rechanging of the entire nation and the culture and stuff like that.
Yeah,
So, that type of massive.
We have a difference of opinion. So, what Percy and Swindon and all these guys talk about is whiteness, European heritage, European stock. That is what can make you an Australian. But what they refuse to accept is their ethnic backgrounds, which Australia itself, Australis, the creation of Australia, the southern land, is like a Latin term or whatever it is. It's like a created term. It's a created colony of the British. It's the same way the British were in Sri Lanka. There's white people in Sri Lanka who have British heritage, the Burghers, who are Sri Lankan, but they are not ethnically the same as me, but they are Sri Lankan. So there's a disconnect here between, the fragility that I think a lot of people like Percy and Swindon feel. They're very fragile about their place in the world currently because it's changing. And I understand that. And there's a lot of things happening in the world where white people are being, trodden on and put down. And
Rukshan, where am I wrong? Where am I wrong? What are you arguing against?
What do you mean?
Are you arguing against?
I'm telling you that I'm not a white Australian. I 100% agree with you. I'm very distinctly different from you.
What's the difference between a white Australian and Australian? What's the difference?
Well, what is the country that I'm living in, Percy, and contributing to and building to into the future?
So because you live here and here and you pay tax, that makes you
the
Australian.
same as your ancestors.
Doesn't make you the same. It doesn't make you the same.
It does because it's the same as when your ancestors.
Tell me how it does.
Here. It's the same thing. It's the same as when your ancestors.
So if you pay tax and you work here, it makes you a white Australian.
It doesn't make you a white. I said I'm not a white Australian. I don't want to be a white Australian.
What's the difference between an Australian and a white Australian?
Sorry?
What's the difference between an Australian and a white Australian?
Between white Australians, there's lots of many differences. The argument that you guys
is an Australian different from a white Australian? What's the difference?
No, I've heard your arguments, and the argument that you make is any white person can become Australian. Like that's your white people. White people are ethnically different.
Real question, I put this on the screen. Say a white German person moves to Australia tomorrow. At what point do they become Australian?
Pretty quickly.
Why?
How?
We can look at the historical example.
They don't want to be Australian. They're ethnically German.
Yeah, and they assimilate very well.
They're German Australians, the same way that I am.
Where do you think English people come from? Where do English people come from, Rukshan?
Okay, so you're saying anyone that's from the Anglo-Saxon background, whatever that. Well, I have Portuguese history in my background. Am I Australian? Am I European?
No, you're Sri Lankan.
Why? Have you seen my surname?
Look at you. That's why.
That could be
we can visually ascertain that you're
Sri Lankan. So that's many factor of things.
What if there's a white guy with tan skin?
So, like, what point are you arguing against? So you don't deny that Australians are a distinct people, right, Rukshan?
No, Australians is a nationality. It's not an ethnicity. That's
define nationality.
Well, nationality is. It can have multiple definitions depending on.
Well, give me one. Give me your definition.
Well, Australia, as defined in its constitution, is made up of all types of different people. So I go by that standard.
Why are you referring to the constitution? Like
because that is the foundation of this country.
The constitution.
This country was created by a law. The creation of Australia.
No, but Australians are a group of people. Australians
listen to me. Listen. I'm letting you speak. The creation of Australia is created by an act of British Parliament, which still is the foundation of the creation of this country.
So Australia is just the government.
It is. Technically, it is. That's why you have so many problems with things like native title, with land rights.
So now you're disagreeing with me that Australians are a distinct group of people. You're saying it's the government now.
You're not listening to me. I'm saying
if the government closed down tomorrow, Australia doesn't exist.
Well, it depends who takes over. I mean, you think there's going to be a vacuum and no one's going to take over, just like Australia was colonized by the British.
Look. This is how meaningless and void.
This is not meaningless.
You're denying.
I'm telling you that Australia exists as an act of British Parliament to this day.
Look,
you have to get royal assent.
Let me cook.
Let the creation of the British.
Let me cook.
He's not an ethnicity. He's not an ethnicity.
This is my problem.
Hang on. We'll let Percy speak. Okay, we'll let Percy speak.
Look, this is my problem. This is how subversive he is. He has to deny my existence to rationalize his existence in my
I'm not
country.
denying anything.
He's saying you're white Australian.
He's saying he said Australia is
history.
just the government.
I'm not
because
denying your history.
Yeah, you did. You said Australia is just the government.
I'm explaining your history to you because you don't understand your own history.
I don't need what. Who are you to explain my history to me? You're not an Australian.
I just explained it to you. Australian is a nationality. I explained to you your history. It is
No,
created
it's
by
not.
Parliament.
Nationality comes from natio. It's a Latin word. It means shared ancestry.
If everything
you do not
saying
share ancestry with me.
They're not that helpful.
If everything you're saying is true, you would not have issues today with native title and all the other issues you have with indigenous people in this country. Because what you belong to this land is through an act of British Parliament, and Australia to this day has not been able to distance itself from the relationship either.
Australians spring from pieces of paper with ink on them. That's what you're arguing.
Well, yeah, that's how the country was created. Same as the United States of America.
So then you do disagree with me that Australians are a distinct group of people with a racial basis. You're saying that
I'm saying there's white Australians, white Australian nationality, white Australians are a real thing.
And they're not Australians.
They're white Australians.
Well, what's the difference between them and an Australian?
Just like an Indigenous Australian. They're an Indigenous Australian.
No, that's an Aboriginal. They're not Australians.
They're Australian. As far as the country goes.
Percy, they are Australian.
Because they're here on the continent. That just makes them
Percy,
so anyone on the continent.
Percy, the thing is,
anyone on the continent is Australian.
I wouldn't.
They were here at the end of the day, Percy. They had.
It's magic. Look. See, this is what I mean about the meaningless of like Rukshan's worldview. It's magic dirt and it's government fiat.
It's not magic dirt, Percy. Because you know why? I'll tell you why. Because I believe in the sovereignty of Australia.
It doesn't matter what you believe.
Listen to me. I don't believe in the Indigenous claim to Australian land.
It doesn't matter what you believe.
Listen to me.
It doesn't matter. You're not making an argument.
It doesn't matter to me what you believe. Like you think you have some power play over me. You don't. This is the world.
This is my country. You don't belong here.
It doesn't work that way.
You don't belong here.
You have to calm down.
That's not it, Percy. You're not acting.
Go back to Sri Lanka.
That's not how it works. But you see,
not an intellectual argument.
Like I talked about fragility and white fragility, and this is what it is. This is the problem here.
Hang on, let's respond to the super chat. Super chat question. If Drew and Rukshan's Australian identity hinged on the government, would you cease to be an Australian if the state revoked your passport? If I didn't have an Australian passport though, I would have no other nationality. I'm literally just Australian.
That's what I said. That's what I said before. I said if Australian identity, it springs from the Constitution or Acts of Parliament. If the state goes away, then Australians lose their existence.
Well, I don't think I am a bit different to Rukshan in that I don't think it's just simply only legal. I think part of it is obviously the culture.
Dude, he's contradicted himself. He agreed with me that he agreed with me that Australians exist and they have a racial basis. But then he's also it's just magic dirt, and it's government fiat.
It's a historical basis. It's a creation of the British Parliament. It still exists in that form. And
people don't see reality. Rukshan.
200 years does not make an ethnicity. Even if Drew,
Rukshan thinks Australian identity comes from paper because that's the only thing that makes him Australian. His citizenship. Yes.
Okay, Rukshan, do you think? Actually, this is a good question. I'll ask this to Rukshan. Rukshan, say there's somebody who with Australian citizenship. And like they're like a massive Hamas Hezbollah supporter. They hate Australia. They go off to fucking fight for ISIS or whatever. We would probably all agree, right? They're not an Australian.
Well,
even if citizenship. I would personally think that if you go over and fight for ISIS, like you should have the citizenship.
Well, you're a traitor to the country, so yes, you're not.
Yeah.
But I look. It's really hard for me because I do fundamentally agree with Percy on many of the points he's making. It's just I'm trying to be very clear here that my acceptance of him being a unique, his historical connection to this country as a white Australian doesn't come from the fact that I think that is the only type of Australian as it relates to what Australia is. It's very hard to reconcile for some people, but that's just how I see it.
Look, it is a good point. There is a good point here when someone goes like the Irish and the English are like, you can't just say because they're the same, like they're both white, they're the exact same. Like at the end of the day, like there's obviously like massive historical differences there, right? So like I think that's one of my biggest problems with Percy's argument, where I think he basically thinks that like all white people are just ipso facto the same because of say like,
Rukshan, Rukshan, okay,
Yeah.
you want to be an Australian? You make the case for me. Explain how you're an Australian.
I don't have to make the case to you to be an Australian.
You
Who are
can't make the case, so you can't even argue it. You can't argue the point. You can't argue.
Percy, listen to me. There are many white Australians of your Anglo stock who completely disagree with you and see my worldview.
Percy, that is true.
They see my worldview. Your group of people are a very small minority, about 2 to 5% of the country. That is the truth.
Not even 5%. It's basically about 2% or 3%.
2% of the country. So you cannot speak for all your people the way that you're doing. And I don't have to make an argument to you to prove to you that I'm Australian, because you're irrelevant in that.
You
scenario.
can't do it. You can't do it. That's why you won't do it.
Percy, what would you say if, say, like a Greens guy came out?
Hold on, Drew. He's here to argue that he's an Australian, but then he can't even do it. So either you're here to make that argument, or you get kicked, Rukshan. Are you making an argument or not? Are you making an argument or not?
Let me respond. I think the reason why Rukshan's saying he doesnlike to justify to you is because, look, you're being pretty arrogant to him. You did say, like, you're not white, therefore you don't get an argument. Like, you basically said that to him.
Yeah, it's like a pointless debate. So,
are you making an argument here? Are you arguing that you're an Australian or not?
Percy, the problem is, though, Percy, you're not making an intellectual argument. You're just saying, oh, you're not white, so you're...
Percy, whatever you believe, Percy, and I say with the utmost respect, 200 years, even if Drew believes this is true, 200 years does not make an ethnicity in a foreign land like Australia. It does not.
What makes you an Australian?
It doesn't make an ethnicity. The nationality makes me Australian. The same as you, your nationality makes you Australian. If you want to talk about your ethnicity, you can go back to your roots and you can figure that out. But as far as what an Australian is, and what the people in this country, majority of people have agreed to what it is something totally different to whatever you believe it is. And I respect your views. And
public opinion doesn't change identities of people.
Well, throughout history, public opinion has changed the world, and that's just
okay. So if everyone thinks that women can become men or men can become women, does that make that right? Does it make that real?
That's a totally separate argument, because
what's the difference? What's the difference?
Well, 200 years ago, there was no people on the
okay, so if majority of people, 200 years ago, Australians think they could become Japanese, can we
hang on, guys? One at a time, guys. One at a time.
To answer your question, Percy, until in 1901, when Australia was federated, that's when the concept of Australian, as it exists, as a name, as an identity, became true. It's the same thing you're saying, like becoming men and women. It's the same thing. People pick and choose countries that are created all the time. But your ethnicity, I agree. I could never be your white ethnicity or whatever it is. Are they the foundational stock of Australia? Are they the foundational Australians? Predominantly white Anglo-Europeans founded the country that we know today as Australia. Yes.
Okay, so you agree that you're an Australian?
Oh, come on, Percy. That doesn't necessarily follow.
It does.
It does.
No, it doesn't. Because if you look at the United States of America, and
also founded as an ethno state.
not necessarily.
It was 1719 Naturalization Act.
Dude, all men, literally all men are created equal is right there in the Independence, man. Come on.
That's not true though. People are different.
Doesn't
align with reality.
Those points are not worth debating with you, Percy, because obviously you have a very hardline view, and you think you're right.
You can't do it.
So no, actually,
make the argument.
I want to say, Percy, you're not really arguing. You basically just said, Rukshan, you're not white, so you can't get an argument. Like, that's what you said to him, basically. It's not really an intellectual argument you're advancing either.
No. What do you mean? I'm telling him to make an argument, and he won't.
No, but you've said to him, because you're not a white Australian, you're not part of the country, and therefore you don't get an opinion on what constitutes Australian nationhood or whatever.
No. I'm asking for his opinion. I'm asking for him to make an argument. I'm not saying he can't. I'm asking for him to do it. So are you making an argument? What's your argument, Rukshan?
I've already made my arguments, Percy.
What was it? I must have missed it because I must have missed it.
He's arguing in favor of civic nationalism over ethno-nationalism.
Yeah, pretty much. Ethno-nationalism, I understand the concept, but in the modern world, it's been rejected.
Rukshan, do you know? Rukshan, do you know what a nation? What's a nation, Rukshan? Define a nation.
Predominantly, these concepts that you are disagreeing with have predominantly been pushed by Western nations and predominantly being championed by white people.
Oh, here we go. The West,
No.
the West
No.
is they're oppressing me, the evil West.
Come on, Percy, come on.
I didn't say it's oppression.
Come on, Percy, don't go into retarded voice
No,
mimetics.
Drew, I'm not saying oppression. I'm saying it's Western enlightenment. So
No. I was saying to Percy because Percy was trying to do like a mock Indian.
It's
Come on,
Western.
let's have an actual debate here.
It's Western enlightenment. So Percy represents a fraction of his, racial group.
Rukshan,
Percy, you're the reject class of your group.
Rukshan.
Other people in your racial group.
What do you mean? What do you mean? You're a country shopper? Like you're squatting here?
I'm not squatting.
You're a country shopper.
I'm not squatting.
That's not very.
Yeah,
your
parents.
Percy,
Yeah, your parents.
My parents were invited at the behest of the Australian government, looking for skilled migration. That is
why did they leave Sri Lanka? Why did they leave Sri Lanka?
Why do people leave Australia?
Why is your country of origin?
Why do people leave Australia?
Well, it's not comparable.
What do you mean?
It's not like what you tell me. Why did your parents leave Sri Lanka?
Because they just had an opportunity to leave Sri Lanka. Why not?
Okay, why did they come to Australia?
Because Australia was looking for skilled labor.
Is Australia better? Is Australia better?
I don't know. It's subjective. It's up. You would say it's not better.
It's not subjective. You can go. No. There's objective measures. Human development index, GDP. There's a lot of. There's a lot of. But look. You tell me. Define a nation. What's a nation?
No, I think we've already kind of.
You haven't given me a definition.
No, we're just going on circles. But I told you the definition of Australia as a nation is found.
We're going around in circles because you can't define stuff and you can't make arguments.
The definition of Australia as a nation is found in its constitution, which includes
nations are a group of people. Nations. Hold on. There's two of you. Yeah, you're talking over me. So nations, it comes from natio. It means ancestry.
Yeah,
you believe in propositional nations. So okay, so what about
if someone says Sri Lanka is an ethno state? Is that true? No, that's so not true.
Okay, so what about if the left wing government gets in power and they just give citizenship to like the whole world? Are they all Australians now? Because Australian identity, according to you, it springs from acts of parliament and the constitution. So as long as the state,
if they were retarded enough to do it, yeah. But why would they do that?
Okay, so it's meaningless. It's meaningless.
What do you mean?
You're saying it's just a matter of formality. It's a matter of government fiat. It's just whoever the government says. What about if the government says women can be men or men can be women tomorrow? Does that make them?
That's a totally different thing. That's like 200 years ago.
Explain how it's different.
That's like
Hang on, I'm gonna quickly read out the super chat. I have to because I got a $10. The definition was set when we federate. It was the civil rights that subverted that identity, similar to how the okay, dude. But what's news? Like, you can't just be like, oh, the civil rights movement. Like what? How do you if 95% of white Australians agree that it's not like a fucking race-based thing? Then how can you disagree with 95% of your own ethnos? Okay, bring back Percy and Rukshan here.
Drew, we've been over this. Identity, nationality is not a matter of public opinion. It's a logical fallacy. Appeal to popular opinion. What about if everyone tomorrow thought that people could change their biological sex?
Can I respond back to your thing before, Percy? You know how you were saying like if some government came in and decided to give citizenship to 100 million people, I don't think that would make them Australian because I actually think
you disagree with Rukshan then?
No, maybe I do disagree with Rukshan then because he said
that Australian identity is just government fiat, and that's just because that's where his quote unquote Australian identity comes from.
Hang on. I realized Rukshan. Sorry, Rukshan. I tried to put Rukshan on unmute. I do think that it's not just an act of parliament. Like I think, for example, if somebody is an Australian citizen but they go off to fight for ISIS, they're a traitor to the nation.
Okay, well you're on my side then, and you're disagreeing with Rukshan.
Not necessarily though, because I don't believe in your idea though that somebody can never become part of a nation if they're like a different ethnicity group.
A nation is a distinct group of people with a shared racial basis and ancestry.
Yeah, but dude, you know as well as everybody else that nationhood is not just simply ethnic nationalism.
Well, define what nationhood is.
There's civic nationalism as well. For example,
yeah, it's propositional. That's propositional. You're going back to the government.
Not necessarily. Not necessarily because.
Okay,
like,
well, you tell me what defines it.
It's also something that I believe that it's also something inside each person though. Like it's not just a matter of the passport says I'm Australian. It's also like, are you actually fully absorbed into the entire sort of like Australian story, the history, the culture? That's where I think
that all comes from white people. That doesn't come from people like Rukshan over here.
No, look,
he's not a part of that.
But it's silly
he's trying to skin suit.
We are.
No, that's stupid. Dude.
He's trying to skin suit as an Australian. Dude, he's not a part of that.
There's no such thing.
Rukshan, how many ancestors do you have that fought in Kokoda? Or the Gallipoli?
Dude, Percy, this is not a natural argument. You're just saying you're not white.
You're appealing to federation. Your family weren't even here then.
No,
they're in Sri Lanka.
Yeah, they were part of the British Empire in Sri Lanka. Long before Australia existed, they were part
You were colonized.
We were part of the British Empire.
No, not on the equal standing.
Going back to those points, our history.
I don't know why you'd appeal to that. Your family wasn't even here. It had nothing to do with them.
Australia did not exist until.
And we had a white Australia. The people who passed that, we had a white Australia policy.
Yeah, and when the US was founded, there was slavery.
You're appealing. Hold on, Rukshan. Rukshan. You're appealing to federation, and the driving force behind federation was to racially exclude people like you. Yeah, so you debunk yourself.
No,
you debunk yourself. The people.
Then what about the people that changed that? What about the people that changed that?
Was Edmund Barton a white supremacist? Was Edmund Barton a white supremacist? Was Edmund Barton a white supremacist?
Most white people were
around that time. And does that include Edmund Barton?
Almost all white people around that time.
You can't even answer it.
Hang on. We're gonna go one by one. I'm muting the guest for 1 second. Hang on. I'm going to mute the guest for 1 second. I just want to quickly respond to Malachi. Rooks and Andrew have a vested interest in having the concept of Australia mean nothing. No, dude, that's retarded. I respect the fact that, Australia is founded on a British European heritage, Western culture. I want the Western culture to be the predominant culture in Australia. I'm not trying to erase Australia, okay? That's bullshit. My only argument is that non-white people can be Australian. And apparently that's a radical argument. That's retarded, dude. Everyone, like 95% of Australians think that, okay? I'm going to bring back Percy and Rookshan, but we're going to do one by one. Okay, Percy.
I just want Rukshan to answer: was Edmund Barton a white supremacist? It's a very simple question.
Well, okay. Obviously, the founding fathers were.
Let me ask that. I wouldn't say no.
Bro, he was literally at the constitutional.
It was founded.
Let me.
Rukshan, do you know about the Race Power Act in the Constitution? Do you know about the Race Power Act?
Bro, I know all this history. Let me answer the question. By the standards that you're setting, Drew, if you go back 100, 200, both of you, a couple of 100 years, by that standard, almost all white people were white supremacists in their understanding of the world.
I mean, historically back then, I think that was true.
Okay, historically. But over time,
I'm not saying it in a good thing, right? Like, I'm not saying that like
white. It's a good thing. I'm just saying it is what it is. I'm not saying it's a good or bad thing. It is what it is. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm saying that is the way of the world at the time.
Look, at the time, at the foundation of Australia in 1901, which is 124 years ago.
And today,
Sean, you won't answer the question. Ask me a question. Ask me a yes or no question.
I want to ask you a question. I'm asking you a question.
Yes or
no. I'm not telling you. So whether what you're saying is a white supremacist, I'm just saying that was a standard way.
It's an objective fact. Okay, but why can't you say? Why can't you say that he is one? Bro, he literally said Australia should be a cradle for the Aryan race.
Yeah, but that's nothing different to any other white leader at the time.
Okay, but then why can't you acknowledge that he is a white supremacist?
But I don't look at it through the same.
What's wrong with Rukshan? What's wrong with white supremacy?
I'm telling you. If you're listening.
What's wrong with it?
I'm saying.
Let him talk.
Explain.
Let me talk. At the time, that was the way of the world. Today, okay.
So it's bad.
No, today, other ethnicities...
so is it good? Is it good?
Other ethnicities are more in that vein.
I don't think it's good to define the world based on my tribe is better and everyone else should die.
No, it's not about supremacy.
I'm straight up say that I don't think that's good.
It's not about supremacy. That was a view of especially Europeans at the time. It wasn't like it was just a matter of fact. It was just fact. There were factual things.
Yeah, because whites are superior objectively.
At the time, yeah. But today, are you
No,
saying...
No, they still are. Like,
Okay.
race hasn't changed.
Percy,
Percy, listen. No, Percy, listen. So today, when Indians and Sri Lankans and all these people are coming here and taking over this country, and you would say,
no, we're letting them.
Are they more superior now?
They're not conquering us. We're allowing them.
You are being conquered in a way, because look at the way that
we're conquering you, sir. We're taking it over.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying.
Does that make them superior? No. This is the base conservatives. We're conquering you. We're taking over. This is your base.
When I'm speaking to you, I don't do accents. I don't go into racial things.
I want to say,
you're going woke. You're going woke, man. Racism.
I want to say, I don't.
Are you? So you're taking over, are you, Rukshan? Can I get that on?
I'm just saying.
You said
the way that you define power structures is by people conquering places. Now, by your own definition, the arguments that you guys make... No,
you just said before that you're taking over.
I'm telling you that your arguments is that...
Did you not just say that? What did you say before? We got it recorded.
But that is an argument that is made by your group.
No, you were making that argument.
Taking everything.
You were making...
Are they coming or not? Are they coming here or not? Are they coming here or not?
Rukshan, do you think... Hold on.
Do you believe...
Look, Sean. Just let me talk. Let me cook. Yeah. Okay. So, do you think like white people allowing like open immigration and diversity because they think it's it's a nice thing to do? Is that the same as being conquered by a military? They're not comparable.
It's actually worse. It's actually easy. You're being conquered even easier.
It's not a military. It's not a military.
I think it's no. I think it's worse. I think this country is being swamped by people and taken over.
Look, Rukshan, I agree. That's why we kick him out.
I think the way that it's been done.
Rukshan, I agree. Rukshan, I agree.
You're not kicking them out.
I'm trying to organize them. Rukshan, I agree with you. Like all these Indians are flooding in, and so then we organize a movement and we get rid of them.
Yeah, but it's not happening. Because
do you disagree with that?
It's not happening, mate. It's not happening because the way that you guys are going about it, it's not happening. Unfortunately, it's not happening.
Well, are you opposed to that? So wait, you're saying that these foreigners are taking us over, and you're opposed to a movement that's against that.
Okay, again.
So you're against Australians
because they're not
stopping foreigners from taking over.
They are not culturally assimilating anymore.
Rukshan, are you against foreigners taking over the country?
There is no incentive for anyone.
Rukshan, are you against? You said that foreigners are taking over the country. Are you against that? You can't even answer it. You can't even answer it.
I'm answering you.
Yes or no?
There is no incentive for the immigrants that are coming here to assimilate into this nation. So culturally, they are taking.
Why do we need to put?
They are dominating culturally.
Hold on.
They are dominating every institution.
Okay, but why do we need to put? Rukshan, why do we need to put incentives in place? Why don't we just get rid of them?
Because the floodgates are open. It's too late.
We close them. We close them, and then we get out of the muddy water.
Look at the results of the election. It's not happening, mate. It's not happening. You're in a fantasy land, and the solution to this is different to whatever you're talking about. That's the truth.
You're trying to, Rukshan. You're just trying to shoehorn
I'm not
the Great Replacement. You're shoehorning the Great Replacement, man. You think you're a conservative. You're just advocating for your ethnic interests.
I'm telling you, it's happening.
You're shoehorning your own ethnic interests.
I'm telling you, it's happening.
This is why we don't like you, Rukshan, because you're fucking subversive, man.
I'm telling you the truth.
So okay. So
I'm telling you the truth.
So the rising tide of colours coming in, and you don't want to close the floodgates or get out all the muddy water.
I oppose mass immigration very vehemently. I don't agree.
Okay, but what about previous waves of immigration?
Yeah, but how do you turn back time on that? It's too
mass
late.
Deportations.
That's not going to happen. So you're wasting time. That's not happening.
If it doesn't happen, then Australia's
while you waste time on things.
Bro, you just
not going to happen.
Dude, look, this is why we don't like you, man. Because you're subversive, man. You're trying to gaslight me. Like,
I'm telling you the truth.
It's not even if it's not feasible. Like, I don't want Australia.
Why do you want to live in a fantasy? You got to deal with reality. You have to deal with reality, and the reality that I'm seeing is Australia is changing. It is like you say, like you fear. It's becoming like other countries that are.
And you don't want to stop that because you're a part of that.
I do want to stop that. I oppose.
No, you don't. No, you don't. Why are you arguing against me then?
Well, he just said that he opposes mass migration.
Look, Look,
I'm
everyone
not-
can see that you're subversive, man.
I'm
That
not being
like you're
subversive.
saying, oh, these immigrants are taking over, but we've got to put incentives in place. We got to. You're like a leftist man. You got to say
No,
we got
you
to
can't have-
we got to pander
You
to
can't have
them,
uncontrolled
and we got
mass
to.
immigration. I don't agree with
This
uncontrolled
is what
mass
you said.
immigration.
This is what you said on X-Men. You said we got to change our identity to suit all
Yes.
these immigrants coming in.
You have to get them on your side, 100%, because they are
So
going to the left.
we got to change what it means to us. Like, how are
They
you Australia first if you want to
they are
change
going
the
to the left.
identity?
They are going to the left, and whatever
Yeah.
you're thinking about,
Why? Okay. If they're going to, why can't we just get
Yeah.
rid of them? Why do
Because-
you want?
because
Why do
their
you want?
side
Why
has
do you
the
want
power.
leftists? Why do you
Their
want
side has the
leftists with
power.
ethnic resentment against the founding stock in the country? Why do you want?
Their side has the power. What are you talking about? Their side has the power. So what are you doing? Whatever you're talking about is useless and pointless.
We're trying to organise opposition
You're
against
not.
that. And
Look,
walking around the street
Rukshan,
wearing masks.
this is why you're subversive, because you come after me. You're just attacking
not
me.
coming
Why
after you.
aren't you attacking the leftists? Because
I attack the leftists all the time.
Look,
I'm not
I'll
coming
tell you
after you.
why. I'll tell you why you're attacking me, because I'm an
I don't attack
existential threat to your
You don't-
existence in this country. And
I'll tell you. Okay, I'll answer your question.
Can I ask Percy a
No,
question?
Drew, let me answer this. I think it's very
leftists are
important.
your benefactors.
Let me
Rukshan.
answer his
Leftists are
question.
your benefactors. They're the only
people-
reason
the
you need
people
to
in this
thank
country-
them. They're the reason that you're here. Leftists.
people
They got rid of
that
the White
unleashed-
Australia policy. If
the
they
people
didn't
that
do
unleashed-
that, you wouldn't be. Rukshan, would you be here if the White Australia policy was still in place?
No.
Okay, so you benefit from leftism, right?
Yes.
Yeah, they're your benefactors.
Hang on.
And,
Why is
and
it leftist?
look, this is why
Why is it- hang on, let me ask
you're
you.
leftist.
Why is it
Rukshan,
leftist?
you're a
I'm not
Why is
leftist.
it-
You're
why is it
attacking.
leftist
You're
to
attacking.
say-
You're apparently a patriot, but you're attacking an Australian nationalist.
I'm dealing with the reality of the situation, and you're not. That's the difference.
How aren't I dealing with the reality?
deal
Like
with the reality.
you're what you're saying is to deal with the reality is just give up. It's
No, it's not to give up.
it's too late. Like
It's
we've
not
just
to
been
give up.
submerged.
It's not to give up. You have people in this country who are white Australians, by the way. A lot of them.
Yeah,
who
race
don't even-
traders.
Race. You call them whatever you
Race
like. but
traders.
there's a
Are
lot
they
of
not
them-
race? Are they not traders to the race? To
I don't know,
my
but
race?
Can I ask
they-
Rukshan this question?
They don't believe in the existence of this country. What's the question?
So this guy asked Drew. He goes, "Please ask Rukshan if remigration was feasible or mass deportation. Would you be for it?"
No,
If
it's
it
an
was
existential
feasible.
threat to him.
No. Why is it an existential threat to me?
Because, like we said before, leftists are your benefactors. They're the only reason that you're here.
I'm just dealing with the reality of my. I don't
Look,
deny reality.
Look, Rukshan. Like obviously, from
I don't deny reality.
look, Rukshan, you're only you're advocating, like you're operating from the standpoint of your own ethnic interests. So like this is just survival for you. So like obviously,
what's the survival?
obviously, I'm
Survival
not
from
going to
what?
get you.
You think I'm
obviously
worried
not-
about you guys? You think I'm worried about you guys? I'm not worried about you guys. I'm worried about the other guys.
You sound scared, man.
I'm not
sound
scared. You
You're-
guys are the
you're
least
different, man.
impactful
You're
in this whole
shivering.
debate. In this whole debate,
If you're not
your
not
group
worried
is the least
about us,
impactful.
if you're not worried about us, why you just we're the only people, we live rent free in your mind, like
No, you
fucking
don't.
purple pinion squatters, man. We
No.
live rent free in your mind. We're
No,
all
you
that
guys-
you talk
I
about.
live rent free in your mind.
If I didn't worry you, why
in your mind?
if I was so insignificant and I didn't
Yeah.
worry you, why are you talking to me right now?
Because it's a bit of fun with Drew, and I don't mind
It's
having
a bit of fun.
man. Yeah, it's a bit of fun. Definitely, I'm enjoying
No,
myself.
well, I'll agree there, but it doesn't make sense. Like you need to focus on other people. But look, I explain
Focus on who?
why.
Can I ask a question of Percy?
Rukshan,
Percy,
would you
why-
say Rukshan?
Percy, why put all your hatred towards Rukshan, who's like a conservative migrant who doesn't support mass migration? Why put all your hatred against him rather than say like
I
white guys
explained.
who love-
I explained
white
because
guys- they're infinity-
he's subversive.
But let me answer this. But I haven't finished, right? Why is it that you're not, say, directing your focus on like the greeny white kids who are for
Because
infinity
they don't
migration?
beat around the
What are
bush.
you-
They don't.
what are you gonna do?
They're not making.
But let me ask you this, right?
They're
What about all
open
these
with their
white kids who support
intentions.
infinity
They're-
migration?
Leftists,
That's the whole of your argument. There's
leftists
all
are
these
open with their intentions. They're not trying to
But there are all
insert as
these
a
white kids.
patriot.
There's
trying to
white
gas
kids
it.
They're infinity. There are white kids with infinity more left wing views.
Yeah,
than
they're
both
race
Rukshan and
traders.
Percy.
They're race traders.
But dude, like why are you so mad
No,
about
look,
conservative
but
migrants?
the thing is, they're open.
the
They're
billion
open
left
about
white
that.
kids who want
No,
infinity
look, this
migration.
is
Percy,
look,
I'm being very open, Percy.
Can
I'm
I
being
hold
very
on,
honest.
Rukshan? Can I answer? I'll need to answer Drew's question. I'll explain
sure.
that. So,
Sure.
like why that is, like they're open. They're like, yeah, like I'm for, like they're not trying to say I'm a patriot, Whereas like that's what Rukshan's doing. He's like, I'm a patriot, but then he's trying to like argue against me and gaslight me. It's over, man. Like it's like you've been flooded, you've been taken over. Just give up. Like just make up a new.
When did I say give up? I didn't say give up. For the solution.
You don't want me to give up my like white nationalist beliefs.
No, you can do that. That's to your detriment. You can do that. I think that's great.
How's advocating in my own racial interest to my detriment?
The way that your group goes about it is ineffective.
What group?
That's my
what
opinion.
group?
Whatever groups that you're a part of. Whatever
which one?
That do that.
Which group are you talking about?
Doesn't
why
matter.
bring up a group? What are you even talking about? What are you talking about, Rukshan?
It's ineffective, mate. It's ineffective. You know it's
ineffective.
I know it's ineffective. I know the left are very effective.
I'm not a defeatist like you.
I'm not saying you're a defeatist. I'm just saying it's ineffective. I'm not saying you're a defeatist.
What I believe
you're trying the best that you can. You're trying the best that you can. But
so like Rukshan, if would you not stand on the side of righteousness in the face of failure? Would you?
Why is it righteous? Why is it righteous, Percy, to say not a single white person, not a single non-white person could live in the country? What's your problem with somebody if they've got conservative values? What's your problem with somebody? Was
that wrong when the people who behind federation, people behind like the Constitution, were they wrong?
I don't agree with the White Australia policy. That was 125 years ago.
What's wrong with it? Like, why do we need to be diverse?
I don't think people should be discriminated against based on race alone.
Why? What's wrong with it?
I think there are cultural distinctions between people, but I don't think.
What's wrong with racial discrimination? What's wrong with racial discrimination?
It's wrong. It's like
how? Tell me.
It's wrong to
tell me. What's the reason?
It's wrong to brutally treat people. It's wrong to brutally.
You shouldn't
judge people based on innate characteristics.
People out of the country brutal. How's it brutal?
Can you explain to us why would you judge somebody based on how they look rather than what's in their heart? What's the argument?
We've been over this before. Like, Drew, you agreed that there's racial differences. They exist. There's racial differences in behavior, predispositions.
But if somebody was the same, okay, let's say somebody was the exact same as you, but they had a different color of skin. Why would you hate them just because of the different color of their skin?
Well, look, there's actually even genetic studies that show that people, have more affinity or they have more trust in people that look like that because they share genetics as well. So, like, you're trying to go against human nature. You're trying to go against biology. So
it's not human nature, though, dude.
It is. It is.
But you know what the ironic thing is? Northwestern European.
Drew, do you care? Obviously, you don't have.
Dude, it's my show. I'm just going to say one thing, right? Okay. This is the funny thing. Both Rukshan and Drew, who are both like descendants of migrants or whatever, both Rukshan and Drew.
Are you talking about yourself in third person?
Yeah, but it's just because it's easy. But Rukshan and Drew, though, we've actually adopted this sort of like Anglo weird psychology mentality where we aren't tribalistic, we're individualistic. We believe that people shouldn't be judged based on race. Like, that's actually the height of Anglo supremacy is like weird psychology. The fact that it's not fucking Pakistani style tribalism. It's not just like
when in the British Empire did they have those beliefs?
Dude, it's literally something that is observable for.
Bro, even Churchill. Churchill was a white supremacist. Oh, Drew, your hero, Churchill, is a white supremacist. He said keep England white. Keep England white. That's what he said after the war.
At the end of the day, he was a Christian. He did have racist attitude, and I don't agree with that. But at the end of the day, he was a Christian.
He went to church occasionally, so that means like saying keep
England. The fundamental at the end of the day of Christian civilization is that all human beings are created equal in the image of God. What's your problem with that idea?
I don't agree with that because it doesn't accord with reality.
So you're against Christian civilization?
I'm not against what's Christian civilization?
Christian civilization is the idea that
I like cathedrals, but I don't agree with that. I don't agree with a theological statement that doesn't accord with reality. I don't think.
Are you like out of interest? Are you like Nordic pagan stuff or like?
I'm a deist. I believe in God. No, I don't worship Odin or anything like that. I'm a deist.
You don't believe in say Jesus Christ and stuff.
It was a historical figure. I don't know if he's the Messiah of God. I'm more agnostic.
Proud to be Greek Orthodox Christian.
Yeah, I'm more agnostic. I'm more secular. Yeah.
So you just straight up reject that the fundamental. I'd say it's an idea that's quite fundamental to Western civilization. The idea that human beings are ultimately equal to one another.
Are Asians equal to Africans completely? Are they completely equal?
Well, I think people are. I think in terms of human worth, people
also
in terms of human worth.
The thing is with that, Drew. The thing is with that, it's that they're more so talking about they're talking about the soul. So even like figures like Thomas Aquinas they wouldn't agree that like an African would be the same as an Asian or a European. They'd say that they're different because it's based in like natural law, like Aristotelian philosophy. So that they wouldn't agree with that.
Percy, can I ask you one question?
Sure.
Just one.
Oh, no, actually, not you.
No, just one. One. I promise. Just one. Just one.
No, you're not interviewing me. You're not
interviewing. I just want to know. I just want to know one thing.
Let him do a question.
Just one, and I'll leave. Okay.
I'm not doing Q&A.
Just one. Okay. Are you scared?
You don't have the clout. You don't have the power level to talk to me.
Well,
you're a peon.
I'll just ask it anyways.
You're a flea. You're an ant. You're a flea.
So,
who are you? Who are you? Who are you?
I'm me.
You can't. You're me. You can't even define yourself. Who are you?
I'm a human.
You're a human. Okay, so what? Just being a human
grants
you access to ask me questions.
Oh, well, you have like 200 followers, but that's besides the point.
So you're not like
because I lost my account like a week ago.
Yeah, I mean, tough luck.
Dude, you've got.
Bro, I got way more clout. I got way more clout than you.
Percy, answer the question.
You got no clout.
Well, just one question. I'll leave. Okay.
No.
If migration can
benefit
Australia,
I'm not answering this question.
Yeah, okay. I'll just ask anyways. If migration can benefit Australia,
I'll just keep talking over you then. I'll just keep talking over you then, so I can't hear your stupid question because I don't respect you.
Because you're scared to answer it because you know I'm correct.
No, I want to go back to talking to Rukshan and Drew. I don't want to talk to you.
Yeah, but you don't want to talk to someone who can actually challenge you. I mean, not that they can't. But I have a good question.
No, you don't. You don't have good anything.
If it's a bad question, then let me ask it and demolish me.
No, I don't have to.
Dude, why don't you do anything? You'll so easily demolish me, bro. You'll wreck me live in front of everyone. Just
bro, who are you?
Who are you? I know Rukshan. Live, you know?
Bro, Rukshan's got 100k followers. I'm talking to him. I'm not talking to you.
I mean, I did basically set up this with you. You were in my DMs begging me to tell Drew to DM you. So
you're just an intermediary, are you?
Well, I mean, I think I deserve one question, right?
Listen, it's the Drew Pavlov show. As Drew Pavlov, the editor, I want him to ask the question. Okay.
Well, just one. Okay. If immigration can benefit Australia, I'm not saying it does, but if it can, would you be okay with it?
Yeah, that's white immigration.
No, I mean non-white immigration. If non-white immigration can benefit Australia, would it?
It can't.
If it can.
What if it?
We're contemplating theoreticals in like parallel universes where
Percy, it's called Percy. It's called
it's dumb. It's
dumb. Okay, no,
this is why I don't want to.
It's not dumb, Percy. It's this really cool thing. They're called hypotheticals. Hypotheticals are used to test your belief.
Your hypothetical isn't based in reality. That's why I don't want to.
Well, that's the point of a hypothetical, is to test your beliefs.
No, not all
hypotheticals
defy the laws of reality and natural law.
The point of a hypothetical is that it's not real. It's hypothetical. Right?
Moving on, back to.
So if non-white immigration can benefit Australia, would you want?
I didn't say I was going to answer your question. Look, Drew, you're just wasting.
To answer it.
You're just wasting. I don't need to answer.
Percy, if theoretically, it could benefit Australia. Say there's a non-white.
It can't though.
Okay, say there's a non-white.
Okay, see, it's look, Percy, if you didn't eat breakfast this morning, how would you feel? If you didn't eat breakfast this morning, how do you feel? If you didn't eat breakfast this morning, how do you feel? If you didn't eat breakfast this morning, how do you feel? Hey, Percy, if you didn't eat breakfast this morning, how do you feel?
You can't argue in. Look,
if you didn't eat breakfast this morning, how do you feel? Yeah, if you didn't eat breakfast this morning, how do you feel?
Original.
I just want to know, like, can you understand hypotheticals? I'm just
Drew,
I honestly don't know at this point.
We're losing lives viewers by the second, man.
It's really, really basic.
Drew, we're losing live viewers by the second. What are you doing, man? What are you doing?
All right, I'll take him out.
It's very unfortunate that he can't answer that. That's really...
Okay, hang on. Okay, but I do want to hear that question, right? I do want to hear an answer.
Back to the fantastical abstract theory.
You can't. Why is it though? Why can't you do abstracts though?
Look, we can, but it's why can't we argue in reality? I want to argue about in reality.
Okay, reality, right? Satya Nadella. Okay, this is a reality one. Okay, Satya Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft, he's clearly a fucking genius, right? Correct.
I don't know. I don't know him personally. Can't speak for him.
Okay. Satya Nadella is.
I don't think just because someone's a CEO. I don't think all CEOs are like a genius. I don't really know anything about the guy. Like, you make the case.
He built Microsoft up to like another level. Like he's done amazing things for the company.
He's a manager. He didn't create that.
Dude, come on, don't be retarded. Like we're talking about like literally the cutting edge.
Why can't Indians make their own Microsoft? Why do they have to come work at like white people?
I don't understand. Like this is retarded. This guy is objectively at the cutting edge of science and technology. He's adding a lot to America. Why is that a bad thing?
Why should we give him citizenship? Why should we just because he works at Microsoft? Just because you work at a company in America doesn't make you an American.
But I'm asking you though, like that's an objective case of somebody who's not.
It's like you're making a utilitarian argument for nationality.
No, not necessarily. I was literally asking this one concrete case, and you can't because you didn't say.
I don't pay attention to like the boardroom or like who the CEO is. I don't pay attention to that. I can't speak on the guy.
Okay, like theoretically, then say it's just a black person who does a lot of.
Like, are we just going to go do like whataboutism theoreticals?
I just don't understand. You can't even say one good guy would exist. That's pretty retarded, isn't it?
No.
So not a single non-white person is good in your view.
You name a good Indian.
Satya Nadella. I literally just did.
What? Just because he works at like Microsoft? What did he do?
What did because he works at Microsoft.
What did he do so great? Like what's so great about what he? What did he do? What did he do? Tell me what he did. You just gone off his title.
He's literally advancing. Like he's really at the cutting edge of like human technology.
What innovation is he? What innovations?
Human species, and you're just like you'd rather be in like a fucking hut, like. You'd rather us all be in a fucking like
97% of all innovation and inventions came from Northwest Europe. Charles Murray, human accomplishments.
Okay, well today, look, this is not a stat that I'm not happy about the fact that. No, I'm going to give you a stat, right? I'm not happy about this, but unfortunately today,
trying to go stat for stat.
Listen to this one, right? I'm not happy about this one, right? But there are more patents today in China than like America. Like they're smashing it in technology. Unfortunately, I'm not. I hate the CCP, right? It's unfortunate for me.
All China.
What's the answer?
True. Why was China an agrarian like backwater? Like they were just there, like farming rice and rice paddies. Like why did the Anglo man have to? We brought them trains. We brought them everything, all the technology. Steam engine, all that.
Dude. Like for a long period of history,
the only thing they invented is gunpowder. That's their only thing. Like they're like a civilization that spans back thousands.
I don't like. You know what, dude? You know I'm not a big fan of China, but they objectively invented a lot of like cutting edge stuff in historically. Like they invented the modern civil service.
List 10 Chinese inventions.
They invented meritocracy,
gunpowder.
The civil service,
meritocracy,
compass. There's a lot of stuff.
They invented meritocracy.
I
don't disagree.
What's your explanation then for Japanese? The Japanese, right, are really advanced technological people. They're doing amazing things.
Anime.
Not just anime. Dude, come on. They've got fucking bullet trains.
Everyone knows
they're very advanced technology.
Bro, they invented anime.
Do you admit?
Bro, I'm giving them props, man. I'm giving them props.
Okay. But do you admit that it's possible for a non-white person to do a good thing in society? Like, do you think it's just literally like my tribe and everyone else dead? Like,
okay, and then we should just give him citizenship, right?
Dude, I'm not even talking about that. We're talking more in general of just
Bro,
like
this is outliers. This is Drew. This is outliers using to make a steel man argument to shoehorn. Have you seen those videos? Actually, I wanted to go into this as well and talk about citizenship. And
I do have to say, I do have to wrap it up soon. I do have to.
No. I want to touch on this as well. And basically,
you want to make this like final 10 minutes?
Yeah. I'll touch up on a citizenship, and basically, I was looking into the ancient Greeks and what they viewed it, and basically they viewed citizenship to be something very exclusive that they wouldn't want to extend to a whole lot of people. Usually, you could only acquire it through blood, but there's also the loyalty factor as well. So I think that's a core component in citizenship, and I think majority of these migrants that come over here, they're not loyal to the country, and obviously I think it would be people are more inclined to be loyal to their kin and that sort of stuff. So
is that a final statement? Is there anything else you want to say before?
Yeah, I guess it's been going on for a while as well. Look, and I can come back anytime, Drew.
We can do another one. There's a lot more topics to discuss. There are a lot more topics to discuss, so I'm happy to do another one. And I'm actually hopeful. I hope Rukshan would join as well. Rukshan, what would you like to sort of say as a final statement?
I don't have much to say, man. Look, at the end of the day, it's interesting that we're all having this chat, and I think Percy believes it makes a difference. I don't really think any of this makes a difference. There's bigger things
at play.
We're all
just stardust, man. Nothing matters.
There's bigger things at play, and no, these things matter to an extent, but
what's a sealed indictments coming?
Sorry,
are you trusting the plan? Sealed indictments?
Nah, that's not what I'm talking about. You know what I'm
talking
about.
It's happening, Ron Paul.
I just speak in the realities of the world that I see around me, and I just don't believe that Percy and his crew are up to it. And it's going to be up to people like me in the future, people like you, Drew.
What aren't we up to? What aren't we up to?
Protect Australian identity, protect Australian history, Drew. It's going to be up to us.
To who? All the new Australians?
Mate, we're gonna have to do it, man. Someone's gonna have to
forget about those Anglo Celts. They're not up to the job. It's up to Sri Lankans.
Well,
we've got to protect Australia.
No, there's some of you guys. I didn't say that. I didn't call anyone.
The ones that pander to you, and they're not me.
No, not even them. I just think whatever you guys are doing,
the ones that aren't racist to you,
waste of time, ineffective, boring.
Just trying to gaslight me, man. I'm not
trying to gaslight you. I'm just telling you the truth.
I'm unshakable, man. I'm unshakable.
That's good for you, man. That's good. I'm glad you feel like that.
Thanks, man. I appreciate
the world around you. I'm sure you're seeing.
I appreciate your input tonight, bud.
All good, man. No hard feelings. The world around you.
Come back anytime. Come back anytime.
World around you. World around you.
Actually, don't stay too long now.
Don't stay too long.
Yeah.
Rukshan, I actually don't know this about you. Were you born in Australia or you came at a young age?
I was not born here, man. I was not born in Australia, no.
Oh, okay, right.
What age did you? Probably 3 or 4, something like that.
See, that's the thing to Percy, right? Like Rukshan's lived his entire life here, never really lived anywhere else. I just don't see, and he literally agrees with conservative values.
It's geographic nationalism.
No, this is the thing, Percy. I know you don't agree with me, but I believe if I live in this country, I have to partake in the spirit of this country and its culture to the full extent. And that means adopting its national identity.
Yeah, but why?
Because if I do not do that, I become the very people that even.
Look, Sean, what am I trying to do? Am I trying to protect the Australian identity?
You're trying to protect your understanding of what that means to you, yes.
And is that understanding the real identity of Australia?
Well, we went over that discussion.
You didn't disprove it wrong, though. You didn't disprove it wrong.
I accepted that you have a unique identity. I accept the unique history.
Okay, but do you believe that's wrong? Do you believe my conception of Australian identity is wrong?
No, it's just your conception of it. I don't believe it's wrong.
Is it wrong? Is it wrong? Is it wrong though?
You're allowed to have it. I'm not saying can't have that.
relativism. Yeah. So like, yeah, but is it right or is it wrong?
I'm just saying it doesn't matter.
I'll straight up say I think that your race-based exclusionism is wrong, Percy.
You haven't proved that to be the case.
No, well, Drew, this is the thing. It's not wrong in the sense of.
I think it's morally wrong.
No, other countries.
How is it morally wrong?
Other ethnic countries practice
wrong to discriminate based on race.
True. Other ethnic countries.
Why? Make the case. Make the case.
Other ethnic countries practice this, Drew. That's the thing. So if you go to India, like they practice this kind of ethno-state stuff.
Everyone does.
Everyone does, but
is Israel does? Israel doesn't have they're not having heaps of Indians and Chinese people go over there. Is that wrong? Is Israel wrong?
Israel actually does have.
Is the nation?
Listen,
is the nation
I'm
state?
Say I don't support.
Hey, like Rukshan, do you support Zionism? Rukshan, do you
I believe in the existence of the state of Israel. Yes.
Do you support Israel being an exclusively Jewish state?
I don't think it's not.
I don't think it is.
Dude, Percy, it's literally
it
not.
Is. It defines itself as such as by the nation state law.
There was an Arab party
and the law of return. Can non-Jews go to Israel under the law of return?
I would say it's like a homeland.
So it's exclusive. It excludes.
That's a very specific type of.
And also the nation state law says it's the Jewish state. It defines itself as such.
I know, but Arabs still have full citizenship. Arab Israelis.
Rukshan, you're just a hypocrite because you work for Rebel News and your boss is a Jew.
Come on, mate.
Oi,
I don't work for Rebel News.
How tall is Avi Yemeni really? Is he 5'4"? How tall is he? Knee high to a grasshopper?
He's pretty short, mate. But I don't work for Rebel News.
You got some business arrangement going on.
No, there's no business arrangement.
Who do you work for?
I work for myself. I work for myself. I'm just enjoying my life in Australia, man. I'm enjoying my life.
You haven't worked since COVID. Aren't you like a wedding photographer?
Bro, I do many things, man. I do many things. So,
such as
I do many things. I contribute to society in many ways. I work as a government staffer. I work my own business. I do.
Aren't you against big? No, we're against big government. No more government.
What do you mean? I believe in the existence of government. Don't you believe in political movements?
Aren't you a libertarian? Don't you want to smash the state?
Okay,
I'm not a libertarian, mate.
Guys, I do
We're getting carried away
because it is midnight, guys. It is midnight. I got work.
Look, Drew. It was fun to. Percy normally comments on my tweets, so he normally comments on my tweets and writes something. All these guys do, so it was fun. It was fun to come on today and just kind of.
Look, I commend your bravery, Rukshan, for taking them on. And
no, I'm not taking them on. I don't think
what about my bravery? What about my bravery, Drew?
It's not a competition.
Do you commend my bravery?
Very brave. Very brave.
Thank you. You're very accommodative host. Very hospitable.
Can I ask you one good question? Let me ask you one good question. This can be our last question. Do you think it's like what are your thoughts on the NSN chant when they were going down and they just chant? It's not even a proper chant, dude. They just chant white man. White man. What do you think of that? It's not a really good chant, is it?
Nah.
I like the ones where they went to like the refugee. What they say there? To like just stinky cheats off a street and just like fuck off. We're full.
Oh, that's fucking retarded.
It's all just a waste of time.
It's like primitive barbarian.
Is it?
Like great
just gaslighting. Don't fight for your identity in your country. Just give up, man.
It's just ineffective.
Just do civic nationalism and work for Rebel News. That's the only way we can win.
Hang on, what do you reckon? But what do you reckon of the one where they were just marching in formation and they just go white man, white man?
It's embarrassing. I think it's embarrassing for white men, to be honest. The great legacy of Western civilization has ended up there.
What about on Australia Day where they were just singing waltzing Matilda? Do you have a problem with that?
Look, I just in general.
Rukshan, do you have a problem with them doing that? And they have Australian flags.
Nothing wrong with the song, but they look ridiculous.
I do think, dude, Nick,
how do they look ridiculous on Australia?
Hang on, Percy.
How do they look ridiculous on Australia Day?
Percy, but even Nick Fuentes said that it looks stupid to just
make the argument. You can't just say that they're ridiculous.
I'm telling you,
go around in all black and just
it's ineffective. It's ineffective.
What color should they have been wearing?
No, it's not about colors.
They don't have to have a fucking military uniform.
No one takes you guys seriously. It's just silly. It just makes it easy to discredit.
Most Australians don't care about politics in general. That's just a dumb thing to appeal to. It's like
do you think Can I ask you, Percy?
Lowest common denominator.
Percy,
like most Australians.
Percy. Good question. Last question.
Australians, like, so
Percy,
what are you going to say, Drew?
Percy, do you reckon it's within the Australian tradition to go around in black uniforms and, like, celebrate Hitler's birthday and stuff, considering that Australia literally fought the Axis? Well, Australia fought the Axis in World War II. Is that really in line with, like, our ancestors, what the Anzacs did?
They have trouble answering this, actually.
No, we don't. But look, the thing is,
they were on the side of Japan invading Australia.
Traitors, mate. Traitors to the Anzacs.
Bro, you have nothing to do. Do you have any ancestors that are Anzacs, Rukshan?
No, but they're born.
Okay, then why are you speaking on it? Like, how are we traitors? Like, you don't.
We're a part of the British war.
What do you mean? What do you mean? Like, are they your Anzacs? Are they your diggers?
Well, they're not yours if you're supporting, like, Imperial Japan invading Australia, dude.
What do you mean?
They're not yours either.
They're my ancestors.
You're supporting the guys who killed them. Dude, you're supporting the guys who shot at them and killed them in World War II.
Hold on, Drew. Majority of the war took place in Japan as well, and I'm not a supporter.
No, dude. Anzacs fought with great honor in North Africa against fucking Rommel.
But
everyone knows that. That's what some of the greatest honor of Australia's military history.
Look, Drew. I can come back and we can because I actually said we wanted to talk about this topic.
Okay, there's more. Okay, we do need to wrap it up.
Yeah, no, but I will come back and go into depth. I like historical revisionism, and I can explain.
All right, we'll do that next time.
Yeah, it's a very broad topic, So.
All right, yeah, okay. Yeah. Well, it's midnight. We'll end it up now. But okay, closing statements. Anybody? Last statement.
For the white man, fight back.
Okay, dude. And Rukshan, final statement.
But Drew, you said the other day, Australia. You agree with that? You're saying Australia for Australians, right?
Yeah, but I don't think that it's. But I don't. I still think that non-white people can be Australian, though. No, but I think non-white people can be Australian, so that's where we.
So Australia for everyone.
No, I'm not saying that either.
You're not saying that. You're not saying.
Yeah, I think if you're properly assimilated and you take in Australian culture into your heart, then you can become Australian.
Yeah, most people are just here for like their economic benefits and standard of living.
My
final message is to all Australians of different backgrounds to fight for this country. Clearly, there's a lot of people that are lost and very ineffective in doing this. So it's up to us.
All non-whites fight against the Anglos.
That's not what he's saying, dude. Fuck off, that's not what he's saying.
They colonized us.
No,
they looted us.
You guys are the most
relevant. We're getting revenge. Come to Australia, getting revenge.
Oh, you're being ridiculous, Percy.
Yeah,
you got to be.
This is why. This is why that I'm not worried about this group. This is why.
I don't care if you're not worried.
I know.
All right, guys. Listen, guys. We do have to wrap it up because it's literally about to be midnight. But look, it was I'm not even sure if I'd say productive. It was an interesting debate.
Is this recorded, Drew?
Yeah, it'll go on my YouTube as well.
Yeah, so keep it up. Yeah.
Well, I'm not taking it down. But
no, because I think I did. I followed your T's and C's. I don't think I said a single slur or anything.
Well, good on you for not saying slurs, Percy. But we can do another debate sometime. We have to talk about World War II as well, I suppose.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
As I said, T's and C's. I'll basically debate anybody. The T's and C's are just no death threats, no slurs, stuff to take down the stream. As outside of that, we'll have a civilized conversation as far as we can. But listen, it's been an interesting conversation. We'll call it a day. I'll remove Percy and Rukshan now. I'll just say, God bless everybody. Thanks for watching. And Malachi, I will be debating you too. And look, I'm against race-based extremism. I'm against blood and soil ethno-nationalism. And I argued against Percy. And that's that. It was an interesting discussion. We'll be another. We'll do another show tomorrow. I'll not sure who I'm going to have on yet, but we'll work it out. Keep watching, guys. I think basically every day we're going to be starting these at 7:00. So subscribe. Make sure to subscribe. And appreciate it, guys. God bless you all. Have a good one.